I just want to say that Austin is a filthy, dirty liar.
About what? What I lie about?
I'm pretty sure you said that Johnny wasn't going to be on.
I said we don't need him because he doesn't play Pokemon, and that's all I'm going to talk about this week.
See, you were implying something.
It's going to be as if he's not here.
Got it.
Do you guys want me to go?
Johnny, you know what I want you to do? Every couple minutes, just say Pikachu. That's it.
All right, I can do that.
Okay.
No, he has to say Johnny because that's what Pokemon do. They just say their name. They'd be like, Johnny. Johnny.
Do I have to say it all high pitched?
Yes, that's the rule.
Are you sure? Can't I be like Johnny?
Well, what type of Pokemon are you?
I don't know. Answering that question would require at least a preliminary knowledge of Pokemon. Something that I like. you if I wrote a book called Johnny's Big Guide to Pokemon, it would be like maybe 5 pages, but 4 of those pages would all be like, there'd be a dedication on one page,
table of contents,
and then there'd be a table of contents, there'd be the publishing information, and then there would be like an about the author page, and then it'd be like chapter 1, shit.
Well, I don't know.
And then it'd be like, so like Johnny, what Johnny knows about Pokemon. I'd call that the book. I'd be like, what Johnny knows about Pokemon. Shit. No, wait, Jack. Shit. There we go. I just upped my word count by 100%.
Nice. But Johnny, for what it's worth, I got excited about a game today that I kind of forgot about, that I think you're really excited about as well.
That's conceivable. I'm excited about a couple of games.
Well, I'll just put it this way. It's from a Polish developer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I'm super stoked for it, because I was playing the second one.
Oh, no.
No?
You're talking about Cyberpunk, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Cyberpunk. I'm also actually really excited for Cyberpunk. So, why'd you get re-excited about it today?
I think somebody dropped like a morsel of news today that like, oh, it might be coming to next-gen consoles or something. And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game. And then I looked up everything and I watched some like interview with the guy that created the tabletop game. And I'm like, that guy's voice is probably going to be in the game because he's got an awesome voice.
Yep. I was really happy to hear that The Long Dark managed to reach its funding goal.
Yeah, that was cool. I was surprised. Like, I don't know about that game. It was so far off, but then I guess they pulled it out. Oh,
they closed it in like a matter of days. So it, I mean, the funding is still open, but they overshot their goals too. It's like 4 days to go. They were like $25K down, and now they're over by like $30,000.
Nice.
Yeah. So. That's gonna be a who's who of sci-fi voices. Mark Meir, who plays the male Commander Shepard, in a game with Jennifer Hale, who plays
Femshep.
Commander Shepard, and Elias Toufexis, who played Adam Jensen. So,
wow. I
hope they all get in a scene together. Where they're like,
just have an orgy, just go at it.
Just like all the catchphrases, all at once. That's what I wanna hear. But yeah. No, I'm very excited for Cyberpunk as well. There's a couple of really, really cool things about it that I'm like that they're putting in. One of the small touches that really struck me as being interesting is that they're probably gonna have like foreign languages in the game.
Ooh.
Where it'll be like there will be characters who speak, Japanese, or they speak German, or they speak what have you, and you will not be able to tell what these people are talking about unless you have like the translation implant. You can like buy software packages that are like, oh, learn German, and then you can like understand what all these like German people in the game are talking about and things like that. I was like, oh, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, that's a neat idea. I mean, people that are multilingual are gonna have a blast with that game.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, not to get too far away from Pokemon, but What do you think the game, like, do you think it's going to be a shooter, or is it going to be, like, melee combat? Because I feel like, futuristic cyberpunk, that's like laser guns and stuff, right?
It's probably going to be both, I imagine.
Okay.
Like I imagine that there's going to be gunfire, and there's probably going to be some up close combat. The trailer that they dropped indicated that it was like you could get augmentations that basically replaced your arms with giant knives.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But I don't see them making a game that takes place in the future without actually having like guns in it. So they're probably going to have they're probably going to do both. I imagine it's going to be some kind of weird Shadowrun styled a combination of the two. They're keeping
really?
tight. They're keeping pretty tight-lipped about it, which I think is really interesting. I mean, there's more info and more like footage and more of everything on The Witcher 3 coming out. But Cyberpunk is they've got that in like an airtight Tupperware container. They're keeping right at the back of the development fridge.
I know, it's pretty crazy. Well, it's interesting you mentioned Shadowrun, because in my mind, when I picture Cyberpunk, I'm like, oh, it's just going to be a big, huge game like The Witcher. It's just going to be in the future with guns. So you think it's going to be more like turn-based, kind of, not like...
No, I don't think they're going to do the turn-based. I don't think that. I just mean in the sense that, Shadowrun has, a mixture of, there's, magic, and then there's melee, and then there's guns and shit like that. It melds everything. I don't think they're going to have, magic or anything like that in Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk traditionally is a lot just more science fiction as opposed to science fiction fantasy. But I can see them as having, a wide variety of, or at least aiming to have a wide variety of different types of combat or skill interactions in the game. Because if it was just a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter or something like that that had RPG elements, I'm not expecting something that shallow from CD Projekt Red, because I just don't think it's in their design blood.
No. Well, there were two things. I watched the reveal announcement event thing, and they had a couple bullet points that kind of caught my eye that I didn't really ever hear about, I guess. And one was hugely ambitious, and I'm like, how can you get any more ambitious than the Witcher games, which are massive? And then the other was a sandbox, and they made a point to emphasize that it was going to be a sandbox, implying that The Witcher is not a sandbox. So I'm curious to see what that would mean for that game.
I think the declaration about The Witcher is that it's going to be a limited sandbox. That is to say, it's you're going to have certain regions. I feel like they're going to divide them up kind of like they did in The Witcher 2, where it's now you go to this kind of countryside. But then in this countryside, you can run around and basically go anywhere, and there are large distances and things like that. All the gameplay that I've seen of The Witcher, people have been hey, yeah, do you see that mountain in the background? Yeah, we can go there. Hey, do you see that in the background? Yeah, we can go there. But I think that Cyberpunk is going to naturally be a little bit more open, in terms of the way the plot is structured, in terms of the way, you pick up jobs or you do jobs. We don't even know who the main character is, or, what side of the law they're on, or if you have a choice, or, they're keeping a lot in their pockets. And I mean, I'm still intrigued, because if it's anything like the Witcher games, even if it's not like the Witcher games, but it maintains that level of quality, that attention to detail, that, emphasis on design over anything else, then I'm all over it.
Yeah, I'm excited, because I don't even like sci-fi games. I think there's just nothing about them that grabs me. Even I beat Mass Effect 2, it was cool, but something about the pedigree of CD Projekt Red and just what they were talking about with their goals for the game, it just sounds interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that may or may not become more clear, when you actually get to see more of the game. It would kind of be disappointing if they released some gameplay footage and you watched it and you're like, oh, that's not a game I would play at all. But we'll see. We'll see how they do. I'm stoked, because I'm a little CD Projekt Red fanboy. That's me.
You don't say.
People may have guessed by now. So I don't think it's a secret anymore. What about you, Austin? How are you doing? You good? You just muted your mic because you're currently playing Pokemon, aren't you?
Oh my, you're really good. Yeah, that's exactly what just happened. I just got to Shaylor City, I think. I have 2 badges. I'm playing the shit out of Pokemon right now.
Right now, even.
Right as we speak, I just walked into a house. All right, there are 2 people in this house. No, 3. There's one person sitting at this table over here. I'm going to talk to this person. They just said some generic shit about Pokemon. I don't care.
Did you Squirtle?
I'll talk about Squirtle. I Squirtled real hard.
That's good to know. I'm concerned that, young men your age today aren't getting enough Squirtle.
That sounds dirtier the more you say it.
It kind of does. Pikachu.
Do you guys wanna start this thing, or are we bantering?
No, we can get started. We can banter. I just get the impression that if we banter anymore, you're probably just gonna go back and play more Pokemon. And right now, Taylor's kicking himself. He's like, I wish I would have thought of that. And then the whole Pokemon wouldn't, the whole podcast would be like, you guys, when asked about Pokemon, just going, yeah. No, you're so right, yeah.
Wait, Austin, can I trade you for this thing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Taylor, give me your 3DS friend code.
Okay. I'll post it in the chat.
I'm dead serious. If you guys start playing Pokemon together while we're doing this podcast, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Wait, why? We should just battle right here on the podcast, and then we can commentate.
You'd probably kill me, though. You're probably way farther ahead than I am.
I would fucking murder you.
And you know all the Pokemon weaknesses. I have no idea what's weak against what outside of the obvious, like water kills fire.
You didn't even know about effort values.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Neither do I. So we're in the same boat, Taylor. It's going to be okay. I will protect you. I won't really. He'll start talking Pokemon shit, and I'll be like, motherfuck, I'm gone. Out the window. That'll be me. Over the balcony. Why are friend codes dumb?
Because Nintendo doesn't have an account system. They should have, sign in with your Nintendo account, and add Austin as a friend. But instead, it's like you have to individually add everybody, and
for each game you have to individually add everybody?
No, just their code. I don't know how. I think per system you do. I think.
Okay,
right?
So it's like a telephone number then.
Yeah, but still.
So what you're telling me is that telephone numbers are so stupid.
We're talking in the greater context of games. Like other game companies have figured out how to do, internet playing, and Nintendo does not. They just don't. They haven't figured out online yet in a good way.
No, I think that's definitely true of Nintendo. I'm not even sure they've figured out video games.
Yeah, they don't know what video games are. They're so behind.
No, I mean, that sounds kind of ridiculous, okay, but hear me out here. What I'm suggesting is that I think that Nintendo has become confused about what the video game industry is now as opposed to what it used to be. I have come to accept that some of my ideas about video gaming is dated. For example, when someone's like, oh, you get this game, and then you can, play it, and all your friends are going to be there, and you can, put it on Facebook, and you can tweet it, and you can, upload videos of you playing this game to YouTube, and then you can, always have your buddies invite them into a game and run a race against them, and I'm like, if I wanted to talk to my friends, man, I wouldn't be playing a video game. But I realize that that's not the thing now. That it's that people like to Facebook their Grand Theft Autos.
Oh yeah.
Surely they must, or else they wouldn't be doing this shit.
The 3DS is much better at online than the DS ever was. I'll talk more about it when I talk about playing Pokemon, but I thought the online was perfectly suited for what they're trying to do. I mean, the friend codes thing is just to protect children, from getting weird invites from random strangers.
Yeah, but see, that's dumb. That just assumes that anybody that plays a Nintendo console is just a child. And it's like, well, no. I mean, there's a ton of people, adults that play Nintendo stuff, and we have to put up with this stupid bullshit.
A ton of adults playing video games in the same places with children.
And I don't know. I just don't think it's that big of a hassle to swap friend codes.
Well, the joke that I was getting at there is that it's just as inconvenient as giving somebody your phone number.
Yeah, I know.
So
I heard you, Johnny. I just chose to ignore you because you don't like Pokemon.
I never said that I didn't like Pokemon.
Well, you don't know. You're not into Pokemon, so you wouldn't know if you like it yet.
I have never played Pokemon, sir. And
so you don't like it.
To make that kind of assumption about how I would feel about Pokemon is derivative and insulting, my good man.
I'm not saying that you wouldn't like it. I'm just saying you don't like it yet.
All right. Okay, that's fine. I don't not like it, though. I don't dislike it yet.
He's indifferent to it.
I'm unexposed. I am Pokemon agnostic. People are like, Pokemon, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
For what it's worth, Johnny, the last Pokemon I played before this one was the original Red and Blue, so I'm pretty out of it too.
That means nothing to me.
Well then.
I just mean when you say the original Red and Blue, I'm like, what? The
Red and Blue were the very first versions on the original Game Boy, and that was like the very first Pokemon game.
The very first Pokemon game was either Pokemon Red or Pokemon Blue?
Yeah.
Those are the first ones North America got.
Now you're just fucking confusing me.
They're not the first games.
So there were other Pokemon games before these?
Yeah, Pokemon Red and Green, which came out in Japan first. Then they did an updated version of it called Blue, and then they split Blue into 2 games and brought it over here as Red and Blue.
Okay, but so they are the original games, but
no, it's
adjusted and updated.
I guess
I don't fucking understand you guys at all. Like, how do you keep track of this shit?
They used the sprites from the Japanese Blue version and the script from Blue version, but they used the exclusive monster rosters from Red and Green for our Red and Blue. They're not the same games. That's a common misconception. We never got the original games.
Okay.
But we got something that's pretty dang close. You can if you look up the original sprites, it's pretty interesting to watch the way they evolved. Like some Pokemon look completely different. But some of the changes they made were because of the anime. I don't know if you know about the really popular Pokemon anime that's out.
I remember that was the first time that I ever heard about a cartoon giving children seizures.
Yeah, the Porygon episode.
Yeah, that was Pokemon, I believe, where they were like, there was like this one particular episode, and there were these kids in this, like, it was weird too because it was localized. Apparently, it was like this one area of Japan or something like that, where like tons of these kids had a reaction to this one episode, and everybody was like, "Whoa, that's weird."
Yeah, everybody had a seizure. Is that what happened?
I think so, yeah. I think it might have been exaggerated by, like, urban myth, but I think there's some truth to that story.
Well, okay, here, I think there's a lot of truth to that story, because if you've ever watched the Pokemon, the old anime, whenever Pikachu would, like, shoot his electricity off, it was, like, super, you could tell, like, the frame rate was really low, or it looked like it was slow down, kind of.
Yeah, but I think the episode that gave kids seizures was about Porygon.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here.
And it was like a bunch of flashing lights or something, and I think that's what happened.
Extremely bright strobe lights that blink over rate at about 12 hertz for 6 seconds. At this point, viewers started to complain of blurred vision, headaches, dizzy, and nausea. Some experienced seizures, blindness, convulsions, and loss of consciousness.
Jeez.
Japan's Fire Defense Agency reported that a total of 685 viewers, 310 boys and 375 girls, were taken to hospitals by ambulances. Although many victims recovered during the ambulance trip, more than 150 of them were admitted to hospitals. 2 people remained hospitalized for more than 2 weeks. Some other people had seizures when parts of the scene were rebroadcast during news reports on seizures. Only a small fraction of the 685 children treated were diagnosed with photosensitive epilepsy. Later studies shows that 5 to 10% of the viewers had mild symptoms that didn't need hospital treatment. 12,000 children who did not get sent to the hospital by ambulance reported mild symptoms of illness. However, their symptoms more closely resembled mass hysteria than grand mal seizure. A study following 103 patients over 3 years after the event found that most of them had no further seizures. Scientists believe that the flashing lights triggered photosensitive seizures in which visual stimuli such as flashing lights can cause altered consciousness. Although approximately 1 in 4,000 people are susceptible to these types of seizures, the number of people affected by this Pokemon episode was unprecedented.
Wow.
Apparently, it's in the Guinness World Records book with the dubious honor of holding the record for most photosensitive epileptic seizures caused by a television show.
What a record. I can't believe they actually recorded that. That's kind of morbid if you think about it.
Wow. Apparently, after airing of the episode, it went into a 4-month hiatus. Oops. Our bad.
Stupid Porygon. What are we going to do with that guy?
It should be said, though, that apparently the episode was watched by 26.9 million households. So when you actually do that math, you know, that's a very slim margin, but still, I mean, like, that's...
To Austin's credit, he did say it was exaggerated. That's pretty exaggerated, because I thought, I was like, oh my god, like, everybody that watched this episode.
No, just a few hundred badly, and then some thousands, some 10,000 kids that I don't know, just upchucked the dinner.
That's okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, nobody died.
Now I'm looking at this link to YouTube here
to see the actual part.
I'm kind of curious. All right. I'm gonna hit this button here, guys, and if I go silent for more than like 2 minutes, okay?
Well, I'm watching it too.
Send help. All right. So missiles, and that's. Yeah, it didn't really do much for me.
Is it the? Yeah, I see the missiles. It's just like a giant blue and red flashing screen.
Yeah,
That's it?
Yeah, apparently.
I guess we're just not photosensitive or whatever.
I guess. Unless, I don't know, maybe in a couple of minutes from now I'm just gonna, like, I don't know, start biting my tongue off or something like that. So, who knows? Maybe it's a delayed reaction.
There's an entire Wikipedia page for episodes of Pokemon that are banned.
Really?
Yeah.
So did that Porygon episode never make it stateside? Or did they alter it?
Let me check.
Stupid Porygon.
No, it looks like it never aired in
really?
English.
Deno Senshi Porygon. Yarushima no Takai. Dojak versus Namuzun. Battle of the Quacking Island. Wow, that show had over 600 episodes? Holy shit, I had no idea.
It's still going, isn't it?
The original? With Ash and Misty and Brock?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
They're having a new season based on the new games. There's also Pokemon Origins, the anime starring Red and Blue, but the Ash Gary one is still going.
A million later. Oh yeah, I remember seeing the one where Jesse. Or I remember seeing it, but I saw the one where James has boobs for some reason, and they're bigger than Misty's, and she's sad.
All right, well, gentlemen.
I think that's our episode title.
Hey, yeah, Austin. Now that Holly's not with the company anymore, who's gonna say no to us?
Right.
I don't know. I assume that if some of them has to bring the hammer down, it'll be from even higher up, so that could be worse.
Oh, boy. Well, then, gentlemen, we have some waters to test. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Erudite Man. Yes, the podcast where two contestants from around the internet come on and try to say specific words given to them while retaining their masculinity. I'm your host, Johnny Maloney, and today's contestants we have Mr. Austin Yorsky, hailing to us from Tallahassee in Florida, and Mr. Taylor Hoyt, coming from the San Jose region of California. Is that are you in San Francisco now, Taylor? Because you moved recently, didn't you?
I just moved across town in San Jose, but I do work in San Francisco for what it's worth.
I remember that you mentioned that you were moving closer to work, so I didn't want to faultily claim that you were living in San Jose still, when in fact you had moved to San Francisco. That would be inexcusable, and I would be forced to commit harakiri.
Harakiri.
So, gentlemen, today you are going to be competing, trying to say certain words given to you by our panel of judges, and retaining your masculinity as best as you possibly can. Now, we discussed the rules before the show began, but we'll do a quick run-over here for any new listeners for the Erudite Man podcast. Basically, when given a word, our two contestants have to formulate a sentence that contains that word and retain as much masculinity as they possibly can while saying it, as determined by you, the listener, after the episode is over. So, without further ado, gentlemen, your first word is bumblebee. Now, Austin, you won the coin flip backstage, so you get to go first.
I feel like I'm missing something, so I just say bumblebee?
No, you have to form it into a sentence. It needs to be part of a complete sentence here.
I hope Johnny gets stung by a bunch of bumblebees.
All right. Okay, Taylor, you're up.
The Pokemon Beedrill was inspired by bumblebees, I think.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be wasps?
Well,
come on, Taylor, it's a wasp.
You're a wasp. We're all wasps.
All right, so that will be the end of the first round. Listeners, I want you to grade each contestant out of 5 about which one of them retained more masculinity than the other. And in the meantime, we'll be moving on to second round, where, gentlemen, your word is sachet. All right, so this round, Taylor, you're up.
Johnny told me to say the word sachet.
Even I know that's lazy. Do you need a definition for sachet? All right, a definition for sachet. It's a verb to walk in an ostentatious yet casual manner, typically with exaggerated movements of the hips and shoulders.
I see. Pass.
You guys are the worst.
I give up on the round.
If you pass, you recognize that you will be scoring a 0 out of 5 points.
Oh, no.
All right. Sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Okay, Austin, you're up. Sachet.
Can we sachet into the part where we talk about video games and more specifically Pokemon?
But we haven't even gotten to round 3 yet. I was going to use the word accessorize.
Oh, I can use that in a sense because you can accessorize your Pokemon in Pokemon X and Y using.
Too late, Austin.
I don't know who won, but I can say that we all lost.
That's for sure.
No, I think I did okay.
The house always wins.
Yep, house always wins. Particularly when it comes to bumblebees sashaying.
Wait,
it's true.
Bumblebees don't even have hips and shoulders.
Maybe you're just not getting close enough. Do you know any bumblebees intimately?
How intimately?
I'm the one asking the questions here, Yorsky.
Okay, I think we should move on before this gets any dumber.
Well, or we could just see how far we can push it. Maybe collectively lower the intelligence quotient of the internet a few points before we finish up. No, you don't want to do that?
What? Okay.
How about those Pokemons?
Oh shit, them Pokemons. Do you want to talk about that first? I don't know, Johnny, do you want to talk about the news real quick before we kick you out of here and talk about Pokemon?
We could. Why don't we get the news out of the way, seeing as it's not a particularly heavy news day.
No, everyone's busy playing Pokemon.
Apparently so, except for the people over who used to work for Valve.
Transition.
Yeah, that's it right there. I'm talking about some ex-Valve engineers by the name of Jerry Ellsworth and Rick Johnson. They've launched a Kickstarter campaign this morning for what's known as the Cast-R, which is a 3D augmentation / virtual reality headset. I find this interesting, personally, myself, because I think it's kind of weird how many companies are now trying to get virtual reality off the ground. We've had, of course, the Oculus VR guys, and of course they're being they are being used, the VR, the Oculus, at Project Holodeck, I think it's called. I don't know if you've seen Project Holodeck. Have either of you guys seen Project Holodeck?
No.
But is that what it sounds like? Is it the thing from Star Trek?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's an attempt to basically make a sort of a full body VR experience where like you have they've got these like helmets that they've made where you like tape Oculus VRs to them, and on top they have like there's a PlayStation Move sensor so it can like tell where you are. And then you have, like, these sort of Wii-styled hand controllers that go with it, so you actually, like, you can walk around, and the game determines where you are by where your move sensor is, and you get the 3D images through your fucking VR, and you use these, like, nunchuck-styled Wiimote sort of things to shoot, and, it looks... I mean, it's an awesome idea, but it looks pretty fucking ridiculous. Like guys playing the Project Holodeck. But I mean it's kind of cool. They've done these things where like they've basically mapped out these like areas in 3D, and then you like put these things on, and then the game determines where you are in this like area by where you go and whatnot. I don't know if they're ever going to get off of if they're ever going to get any good-looking games on it or something like that, but people look pretty fundamentally ridiculous playing it. There was some footage, there was some video footage of some guys playing it, and where was it? Okay, yeah, I've got some. Oh no, this is all like interview footage and stuff like that. They don't have any. They're obviously not updated to any games yet or anything like that. But they've built a couple of apps of their own essentially in it, and it's sort of like. We'll see if they get any better than proof of concept. But anyways, these the Valve engineers, back to the actual news, pardon me, Ellsworth and Johnson. The Castar is it's actually essentially a pair of glasses. It's not like it's not like the Oculus VR that straps onto your face and looks like it would get a little heavy after a little while. That projects 3D images onto reflective surfaces. It basically makes holograms on like mirrors and glass tables and things like that, and you get this like joystick basically that plugs into it, and you can interact with it. So yeah, I mean they're obviously starting a Kickstarter for it, so I'm not sure if they've actually done it yet, but it would basically mean, I think, having like. I'm not sure what it means, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure who this is for. Because obviously it's kind of like it's a portable game, because it's like you would need to bring it somewhere with like, a reflective surface or something like that, but...
I don't know. Personally, it's like it took me a while to be sold on the idea of the Oculus Rift, right?
Yep.
And now I feel like that's my, 3D augmented reality kind of tech thing.
But I mean,
I don't know if I have enough mind space for more.
The VR, the Rift isn't the Oculus Rift is not like it's not an augmented reality game. It's not like it's like a sit down at your desk and like zone out kind of game. You plug that thing into a PC, and then you just kind of go whoa with a pair of headphones in, right? I mean it's not something that you would take on the go. You couldn't play a game of chess on a glass table with the it'd be really weird if you could just like whip out an Oculus VR Rift on the bus and go somewhere else. That would kind of freak me out seeing people do that, but presumably that's something that you can do with the Castar.
Yeah, I just don't know how interested I am in that. I guess it's technologically intriguing, but How much? Because I mean, they're asking for what, $400,000. Do you think the market will continually support these new kind of peripheral tech projects?
I don't know about this one, because augmented reality glasses have been kind of like notoriously looked down upon on the industry at this point in time. Like Google Glass. Do you know anybody who has Google Glass?
I've seen one person in person, and that's it. I don't know anybody personally that has it.
Yeah. Do you know anybody that wants Google Glass?
Not really.
Are you like really excited for Google Glass?
No, I don't think I'd take one if they offered it.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do with it. I'm like,
I
okay.
would probably take one just to, like, muck around with it. You know, if someone was like, here, it's a free Google Glass. But I wouldn't, like, wear it to work or anything. Or, you know.
It's just weird kind of culturally. It just, I don't know. I don't know if we're ready for it.
I could conceivably, like, see myself pulling them out if I was hungry in a neighborhood I wasn't familiar with and I wanted to find a restaurant. I'd be like, over here, it says this is good.
You can already do that with your phone, though.
And that's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just seems some of these ideas seem less than practical.
Until they can build it right into my eye, I don't.
Yeah, ocular implants.
Yeah, or brand new eyes or something like that. That said, I'm excited about the Rift. I want to get a Rift as soon as they have the consumer version out. I'm not interested in getting a dev kit. I'm just not. I realize it right now. It's sort of like mucking around. I don't know how to program. I don't know how to do anything. I know that you can play all these different games on it and shit like that, but I want to wait until it's a slick consumer product that they've, like, ironed all the kinks out of, and then they can take my money. But yeah, Castar, augmented reality. Does anybody listening to podcasts have Google Glass? Do you use it? Would you be like, yeah, I really like augmented, AR glasses, but Google Glass is terrible because it smells like French fries or something.
Oh, French fries are delicious.
Well, yeah, but like the smell of French fries. Could you imagine like putting something that smells like French fries on your face and like keeping it there all day long and just being like, God, I smell like French fries.
If they were French fries, I don't know if it was just the smell. We're getting off topic here. Johnny, did you notice one of the names that was associated with this?
Jerry Ellsworth?
Yeah. You remember where we...
I remember Jerry Ellsworth. Like it was yesterday.
Because we talked about this person at some length on a previous episode. I just was curious if it popped out at you.
No, it did. It did. For those of you who listen to the podcast regularly or just pay attention to the news, Jerry Ellsworth was an engineer at Valve whose project got axed. And then after she left, basically said that she wasn't really all that pleased with the way that the company was constructed. She said that it was a lot like high school, that it was sort of like, that the non-traditional approach to the way that Valve manages their teams looks really good on paper, but when it actually comes out in the end, it comes out as a much more kind of like cliquey sort of, groups stick together, and if you're not friends with the right person or you don't do the right person a good favor, then you kind of get excluded from certain projects, or people don't listen to you as much as maybe they would normally, and et cetera. People are kind of going after her as well, which I think is unfair, because she was very forthright about saying, no, like we left on good terms and my time there was valuable, but she was just concerned with the way that everybody was lauding the way that Valve was constructed as a company. It was like, hey guys, it's not really like that. It's a lot less utopian than you think it would be, which I think is reasonable to say of just about any corporate culture. But so yeah, don't hate on Jerry Ellsworth, guys. It's not like she shat in your cornflakes.
As far as we know.
If she did, hate on her all you want.
Actually, probably report that to the proper authorities.
Probably. I'm sure that could be construed as assault in some states. Certainly indecency if it happened in a public location.
Okie dokie then.
So.
Yes, Taylor, did you have any thoughts? You've been quiet. I know it's not Pokemon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, our office has a dev kit for the Oculus Rift. We're never going to use it because we make phone games, but anything else, like I'm with Johnny, anything else, I don't really care. Give me Oculus Rift. It's going to be cool. But anything else, I'm just like, whatever. I don't know if it's going to get any better than that.
Yeah. I'm excited for the Oculus Rift, both for like little things that are made for it, just like the beheading simulator, and also just the first-person horror is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be terrifying.
Terrifying's word.
I want the movie application. There was a guy who made like a movie theater. And I was I think that would be great if you just like strap your headphones in and then like, put the Oculus Rift on and then lie down and just be like, I'm going to watch a movie and tune out. See ya. So like, if your girlfriend's doing homework or something, or, I don't know, you got some kids and they're like climbing over you like King Kong on the Empire State Building or something, you're like, Daddy's going to the movies.
That'd be a good thing.
Not that you should leave your kids supervised or anything like that. That would be bad. But if they were supervised and Daddy needed to go somewhere on his own, or Mommy for that matter, and you're like, I gotta watch my stories.
Oh, who are we kidding? We're all excited about the porn games. Come on, guys.
Oh God.
Well, I don't know how much money the peripherals are gonna cost. That's the make or break for the porn games for me. If the peripherals are expensive, forget it. No. I just bought an Oculus Rift. I don't need to buy another expensive penis sheath.
Another.
I'm already...
assuming there's another one already.
I got them up to here. I'm drowning in them. Year after year after year, some brand new video game development company convinces me to buy a brand new expensive penis sheath. And you know what? I've had enough. I'm done, man. Ever since that commemorative Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Collector's Edition penis sheath, nope, that was it. Last one for me. Speaking of penis sheaths, how do you guys feel about Final Fantasy VII?
Oh, that was the transition.
I'm just trying to keep it smooth and on target and in under a decent amount of time. So why bandy about the subject here?
Actually, I'm sorry, who was I arguing? I think it was Sean. I was arguing with him. He thinks Final Fantasy VII is like outright terrible. And I disagree with pretty much everything he says, this included. I think Final Fantasy VII was like mind blowing at the time, but now in like hindsight, it's just kind of okay.
Yeah, it hasn't aged well.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like at one point I would consider it my favorite game. Like for a long time I would consider it my favorite game, but the farther and farther we get away from 1997, the more I'm just like, yeah, that game is just. It's pure nostalgia, and I'm okay admitting that, but like if you just, like Austin said, if you just look at it on a mechanical level, like 9 was better, 8 was better, even though drawing might have been
I don't know about 8.
I liked 8. A lot of people didn't, especially after Spoonie reviewed it. People got it got a bad reputation, but I like it. Yeah, it hasn't aged well. But I think they're talking about some kind of iOS port. Let me throw this out there. If we're talking about like hardcore games going on iPhone, I saw a video of Square Enix running Dragon Quest VIII running on Android or something. And
yeah, that's the core of this news story, is that Square Enix is starting to port everything they've ever made to iOS and Android, all the Dragon Quests, and so far Final Fantasy up to 6. The problem is 7 is apparently too big for modern phones, and
Dragon Quest 8 isn't?
It is not too big for modern phones. It's not too big for modern phones. The problem is that Apple imposes a superficial limit, a size cap, basically, on apps and games that you can sell through their store. And surprise, surprise, Apple being the controlling, crazy stepmother of a publisher that it is, the only place that you can get iOS games is through the Apple Store. So they say Final Fantasy VII's too big, they're not going to sell it, you can't have it.
What are they going to sell it in discs? Like you can buy disc 1 and disc 2 and disc 3. Sell it separately, maybe.
Well, I mean, I guess that's conceivable, but then, you're probably running on some weird pricing, because you know that every time you sell something in the iOS store that Apple digs their hands into that pot and takes money out of it, right?
Of course. I know all too well.
How much money does Square then decide to set each part?
I'd imagine they'd be like $10 a piece for 3 discs.
And this right there, this is just, I think, a perfect example, like a great spit in the face to everybody who said, hey, wouldn't it be really great if Apple came out with a console? No. No.
Okay, I have 2 things to say, one on Final Fantasy and then one on Apple. I feel like putting games like Final Fantasy VII and Dragon Quest VIII on phones, like Square Enix is sort of missing the point. Like people don't want to play like these huge, big RPGs on a phone. Like they want to play quick games, right? Like Angry Birds and Candy Crush and all that garbage. And so I don't know about you guys, but would you want to play like a big fat RPG on your phone?
I'd rather have it on my 3DS or Vita.
Exactly. What about you, Johnny?
It depends how grindy it was. Like if it was a really grindy RPG, I don't think that would be a problem because you could just pick up your phone and then like play a couple of battles. But if it was like, you know, if you got like to the last boss and you're like, I gotta get off the bus. I mean, come on. Then that wouldn't work. So to that extent, they're like, you know, like I think that Final Fantasy might work to a certain extent because they can get kind of grindy in the earlier days, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, whenever you're like trying to mix up a bunch of plot in there, it doesn't really. It's the wrong choice. I mean, it's great that it's like, yeah, people want to play it, but the only reason why people are buying it on phones is because they're like, yeah, I really want to play Final Fantasy VI, and the only place that I can get it is on my fucking phone. And if you put that on, like Austin says, on your fucking like 3DS or your Vita or on like an online store or something like that, that shit would sell like crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then so talking about Apple. I sent out a tweet earlier. If people think Microsoft is annoying to work with, Apple is 10 times worse than you could possibly imagine. Because like the company I work for, we've been having some payment issues with like players trying to process their transactions and stuff. And so I tried to get a hold of somebody like to dev support, and they don't even have like a dedicated dev support system. Like I can't just get on the phone and be like, hey, there's something wrong with my game, can you fix it? Like that does not exist with Apple. So you're pretty much just fucked. You're just left to your own devices to kind of figure out how it works. So at least Microsoft, I feel like, has somebody you can go to. Apple, you're just screwed. Forget it.
I don't like their corporate policies very much. I really don't. Not a fan.
But I think this is often the Bash Square podcast, but I just want to say that they confirmed Drakengard 3 is coming to North America, so I don't entirely hate them.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising, I feel like.
So,
weren't you pretty much sold like, yeah, that's never going to come here?
I made peace with it. I'm not going to say that I thought it was 100%, but I was emotionally prepared for it never to come over. Because it's going to be gross and weird and inaccessible, and it's going to sell like 8 copies. So I'm glad they're doing it anyway. I'm going to keep my PS3, which is more than I can say about the Xbox 360, which hasn't had an exclusive in months.
Months? Try like, I don't even know, all year has it had an exclusive?
Besides the Summer of Arcade stuff, I think Halo 4 was the last one, right? Or is it Gears of War Judgment? I can't even remember anymore. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lesson to be learned here, everybody, that if you're interested in playing Final Fantasy VII and you really, 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 really want to do it on your iOS device, it's probably going to be some time. The developers say probably years before we actually see it, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you probably just pick it up on Steam.
That's true. I'm sure you could emulate it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, if you were into that sort of illegal behavior.
Oh, that's a can of worms.
What about Android? Does Google or whoever, do they set any kind of limits on games? Because I'm wondering because Android's more popular in Asia, so I bet they would have a better chance of it coming to Android than iOS.
They are more popular in Asia. The problem is that, Apple are where the big sales are, though. You know, like the App Store and things like that. And also, I mean, it should be said that releasing something on Android, a lot of people are squirrely about releasing things only on Android because they worry that like Android is like the pirate capital phone. It's like it's like how people get squirrely if they release things on PC. They think everybody's gonna steal it. So there are a lot of companies that get a little iffy about whether or not they release things just on Android. So
True.
So I guess you guys want to talk about Pokemon.
Well, Taylor, did you play anything else this week first?
I played a lot of things.
Oh, shit. Do you want to work your way up to Pokemon there? Because that's going to segue into me.
Yeah, I'll say Pokemon for last.
Okay.
So I played... I'm still making my way through GTA 5. That game is just... I keep thinking, like, I got to be at the end soon, but... Man, that game just keeps going.
Every time you think you're done, you just have to hug another baby, and then
No, there's just 50 missions of Trevor and Michael yelling at each other. I don't trust you. Oh man, fuck you. No, fuck you. No, fuck you. And then they go do a drive-by, and then it's over. And then you do that 25 times.
Well, I am spending a lot of time just dicking around, like jumping off buildings and like going on rampages and stuff. So that probably isn't helping as far as finishing the game goes. Yeah, but I was playing that. I picked up, as Yusuf so astutely pointed out, I picked up Resident Evil Revelations on the Steam sale, and I didn't wait for it to drop even lower. I guess I didn't realize that they were going to sparse it out, like it's going to be Devil May Cry Day, and then it's going to be Resident Evil Day, and whatever, Dead Rising Day. So I just picked it up when I saw it, and then...
Classic Steam trap.
See, I
know,
waited.
right?
I waied. I got it for the $10. I was like, yeah, bitch.
Well, see, that's the thing. I've been waiting for it to drop. I'm like, oh, it's finally on sale. I'll just grab it. I sincerely didn't think it was going to drop again in like a matter of days.
Well, that's fair, though. I mean, like, the great thing about the Steam sales like that is that it basically sets thresholds for, like, how much you want to spend on a game. Where it, like, goes on sale and you're like, I don't really want to spend $25 on that. And then 3 days later, it's like $15, and you're like, yeah, I could spend $15 on that.
Why not? It's fun. It's classic Resident Evil. It's definitely not scary. It's almost cartoony in a way. Like they don't quite have the lighting and the atmosphere down because.
Does it have really bad voice acting?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Okay. Good. Just making sure.
Oh, yeah, the voice acting is terrible. So many cheesy lines. They're getting, like, torn apart by monsters, and it's like, you're going to buy me lobster dinner after this. And it's like, really?
Yeah. Resident Evil is, now, are we going to go down this road again, Johnny, about how does it know it sucks, and does that make it better?
I keep telling you, I don't think Resident Evil has changed a day since they made the first one, and suddenly everybody's like, oh my god, it's so terrible. I'm like, are you joking? It's always been like this.
I think it's more self-aware. I think that, like, I played Revelations, and it's kind of goofy, but I think it has more fun with it.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's definitely, I'm kind of enjoying it more than 6. Like, I like certain things about 6, and I like certain things about Revelations, but I'm getting what I expected, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like old school style backtracking, getting keys to unlock this thing.
And you feel like you get familiar with the ship. Like the ship is a kind of a cool location. It's like the mansion from the first one, or like the police station from the second one. It's like 6 is like it's just a series of
hallways.
Just places to shoot zombies. I don't really feel like any connection to any of them. But it's like I remember the ship from Revelations pretty well. And it's like, oh, there's that dining room where all those big, like, bloated dudes are. And it's like, oh, shit, I can't go in there. They're going to fucking kill me in one shot. Those guys.
The only annoying thing was I got to this boss battle where you're trying to get to this communications room, and he's, like, yelling, Mayday, Mayday, and then he bursts out of the room, and, like, guys are continuously spawning, and you have to kill him to, like, he's, like, basically the big first big boss battle.
Yep.
And... for some reason, I didn't have the rifle or the shotgun at that boss. So I did that battle like 5 times, and I just kept running out of ammo. I'm like, how the fuck are you supposed to kill this thing? And then I realized, like, oh, the crest is the thing that replaced the shotgun? Because, like, in my mind, it's like, oh, you don't have anything to replace the shotgun with. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I got to get a broken shotgun, or I got to get a thing to replace what's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was very not clear what I was supposed to get to, remove the shotgun from its little holster. And the whole time I had this, like, unicorn crest thing, and I'm like, that's what it was supposed to be? Okay. And then the rifle is just, like, in another room. Like, I actually got the shotgun, went back, tried to fight it with the shotgun a few times, still couldn't do it. And then I had to go find the rifle using a walkthrough.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was bad.
Aren't there, like, explosive barrels in that area or something?
There are. I used all of them. I did everything. I was, like, knifing guys. Like, I was doing everything I could. But it was tough. But then oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I feel like if you walk them into each of the barrels and blow them up, that's enough to take them out. But I don't remember. It's been a couple months since I played it.
Yeah, definitely was not enough. But then I played a game with a lot better atmosphere, and a game I thought was legitimately scary. I played the original Dead Space, which I've never played before. I just never got around to those games. And that was that's a fun game. I think I did a couple chapters, rearranging some cargo and stuff. That game's really fun.
I think the first two Dead Space games are actually like really good. Like they're a little heavy on the jump scares, but the atmosphere is good, the action's good, the writing is good enough. It's not like deep or complicated or anything, but it gets the job done.
I concur.
3 is a little weaker, but still worth playing, I guess, just to see how it ends.
Oh, is that a conclusion to the story? There's not going to be a fourth one or whatever?
No, there's going to be a fourth one. They're going to do this one.
Someday. There's been some talk of EA shelving it because the third one didn't do so hot, but it's a name, so they'll dredge it back up one day.
Well, when you expect Resident Evil-like numbers, didn't they say something? They wanted 5 million copies sold or something to justify its production cost?
Yeah, that was like a couple months there where every publisher lost their motherfucking mind.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Square was like, Tomb Raider has to sell 8 jillion copies.
Yeah, Resident Evil 6 needed to sell 18 million copies in its opening weekend, and also an orphan needed to exchange its soul for one. And then fucking Electronic Arts was like, we need a parcel of land outside the Duchy of Herzegovina in the ex-Czech Republic. We need our own satellite and sole ownership and operation of what remains of NASA for there to be another Dead Space game. It got weird.
I hope people have learned from that era, because...
Oh, that era's still on. I mean, people are still spending crazy, crazy amounts of money developing games.
Do you guys remember, or do you guys see the Square Enix launch their Kickstarting style initiative? Actually, they partnered with Indiegogo.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
That's another Square Enix news. It feels like all we do is talk about this fucking company, but yeah. It appears that they finally got the message and are trying something new. Whether or not it succeeds is another story entirely, but even if we're still kind of in the era of spending way too much money on development, there are people trying things, so we'll see how it all shakes out.
The problem is just costs are spiraling out of control, and a lot of the time I want to blame this. I want to blame costs spiraling out of control on people trying to include a whole bunch of shit they don't need to in their games. Like, Dead Space 3 did not need co-op.
Exactly.
Didn't need it. Didn't need it.
Well, you remember that there used to be a thing. It was the forced multiplayer. Every game needed multiplayer because Call of Duty was big and it had multiplayer.
Yeah.
And that's gotten better over the last couple of years. I know more companies are cutting it out. Not enough, but it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Infinite, they did multiplayer in 2, and then Ken Levine's like, well, there's nothing unique we can do, so we're not going to put it in there.
Well, I'm sure they had the fucking stats that said most BioShock 2 players played it for 10 minutes and never played it again. It's just not worth the investment.
What I'm kind of curious about is I want to know about how much cost of DLC gets wrapped up into making the game. Because I'm kind of curious about that. Like, does DLC pay for itself? Or
it has to. It has to be profitable or they would stop doing it.
Yeah.
Every game has DLC. And you remember that there was a GameStop investor call where they make a lot, like a sizable percentage of their profit on season passes and shit.
Well, I'm like, but what I'm suggesting here is that I wonder if there are like studios out there that are spending money for DLC in games where it doesn't need fucking DLC, but then they're like, everybody has DLC, we have to have DLC. Because think back to again talking about Dead Space 3, Austin. Do you remember what they had available for DLC?
I remember there was one expansion. It was like Awakened or something. But did they have other things? I know there was the in-app, the in-game transactions. Was there something else?
I don't know. and that's the thing is that I'm like, was that a giant fucking waste of time for them? Was it? Because, sometimes I recognize DLC, I can say the same thing about, the Saints Row games, where it's like, they've got DLC that's campaign expansion packs, but then there's buy this gun, buy these costumes, get this people in this car for your gang, and it's sort of like, yeah, okay. But then there are some games where I'm just like, I finished playing the single player, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's about making it meaningful to me. Like Borderlands and Mass Effect, I think, had some substantial DLC. Fire Emblem had a couple of good, worthwhile things to download. But most games, it's just, costumes and guns and cars and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. It's not worth it as a consumer, as far as I'm concerned, but it must sell to somebody because they keep doing it.
Well, here's the thing, too. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was just going to say it's just I was just going to reiterate my point of view where I'm just like, there may be companies out there that are spending lots of money on DLC, but they're not selling. But they're like, we have to have DLC because everybody has DLC.
Well, I feel like a lot of DLC, or I would say some, is probably stuff that they built for the original game and they just tore it out and they're like, we'll sell this later as DLC.
But that's still that is spiraling dev costs right there. That's more money than you should have spent on your product.
Yeah, I mean, if the DLC that you tore out of your game doesn't sell enough to justify the time you took to make it, it's still lost money, even if you sold it separately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying
you could have not made it at all and just pocketed that.
Well, not. I'm saying let's say we've got the game, it's ready to go, and they're like, hey, why don't we just take this one little section out and we'll just count it as DLC? Like not planning ahead of time, thinking oh yeah, we'll just this will be DLC in the future. It's just they've built the game, it's almost ready to go, and they're like, we can cut this and then sell it later.
It's what I'm saying, though. If there's something in your game that can just be excised totally without ruining it, then you could have probably just not developed that at all.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have had to pay the money for it to be developed in the first place. In which case, if you try and make a DLC and it doesn't fucking sell, guess what? Your budget was too high. You spent too much money on your budget.
Also, your story structure or whatever is pretty fucked if you can just rip entire pieces of it out and not affect anything. What are you even doing at that point?
That's true.
Very true.
But yeah, Dead Space. I enjoyed it. It was good.
It's a good game. We just talked just unrelated bullshit for 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, it bears discussion to talk about where the series has gone, not necessarily thematically, but also in terms of business.
That's true.
Because at one point in time, Dead Space was a fucking juggernaut. It was Dead Space 2, everybody was so hyped for it. And then Dead Space 3, everybody was pretty hyped for it. And then Electronic Arts was we need access to secret government files or else we're never going to make another Dead Space again. I need a supermodel to wipe my butt every time I take my morning after coffee dump, or else we're not going to make another Dead Space 3. You said Dead Space, because, costs are spiraling way out of control, guys. How can that possibly happen? How can it happen that a game that is pretty much guaranteed success from the moment that you announce it be not worth it? I'll tell you how. You spent too much fucking money on your diamond grill face.
No, it's because they weren't satisfied with it being the kind of success it was. They wanted it to be a blockbuster Call of Duty style game. It's greed as far as I can tell.
Well, then do yourself a favor and buy Activision Blizzard, because I hear they're looking for some money.
Yeah. I don't know.
This segment of the podcast is now called Dear Assholes.
Speaking of assholes, Taylor, what else did you play?
I don't know if I played anything else. I played Dead Space, Resident Evil. Oh, I finally finished downloading Batman Arkham City on PC, and I played the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC.
And doesn't it look gorgeous, Taylor?
It does. So Batman went on sale during the Steam summer sale, I think, so I sold my PS3 version and rebought it on Steam, but my internet was so slow I couldn't download Batman because it's 17 gigs. But then I moved, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to finally download this, and it took 5 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah, it looks great.
And you've got the physics on, is that right?
I guess, whatever it came with.
Okay, that's awesome.
The only thing that's annoying is that you have to install games for Windows Live to play it, and that was a pain in the ass.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, that was just really annoying. It kept saying close the game to restart games for Windows Live, and I kept doing it over and over and over, and it wouldn't work. And I'm come on, I'm restarting the game. Why aren't you working?
No, it was working. That's how games for Windows Live works. Badly.
Okay.
enough about my favorite digital distribution and online DRM. Tell us about Harley Quinn's shoe shopping escapade. Was that it?
Yeah, that's the one, the shoe shopping escapade.
Right.
No, yeah, it was cool. I didn't realize that Troy Baker played Robin. That was interesting. I just booted it up because you start as Robin, and I'm like, oh, hi, Troy Baker. And so, yeah, I liked playing as Robin. He's got a lot of cool gadgets. Like he has a shield that can block bullets, and he has a little bow, and that was cool. I enjoyed that. I was really hard getting used to the controls again because there's so many things you can do. I'm like, how the fuck do I throw a smoke grenade, and what do I do? But it was great. It was fun. I don't know if I'm going to get the new Batman just because it's not Rocksteady. I want to wait for some reviews or some impressions, but it was fun, enjoyable. But as we've been talking about, I think most of my time was spent playing the Pokemans.
All right, I'm going to go into...
Someone say Pokemon?
I'm going to go into tune-out mode now, gentlemen. I want you to geek out hard. Okay? I want to see some serious nerd boners.
Okay.
I want jargon talk. So I want to be lost in this conversation. Because for me, when you guys get lost in Pokemon, it's like being on painkillers for me. I start drooling and just go numb. And I'm into that. So on your marks, get set, Pokemon.
We should battle right now, Taylor.
You're gonna kill me, and I don't.
I'm gonna murder you.
You probably will murder me.
Good.
I don't even know how we play each other.
You don't? Okay. We gotta register each other through the friends list thing, right? And then you should show up on the player search system on the bottom screen.
Okay, hold on. Because my 3DS is dumb. You can only have 3 internet connections saved, and my new apartment is not saved as one of those. So let me register my new internet on my...
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. The Nintendo's stupid in this way. So we're going to go to settings, I believe. Oh, no. I got to save Pokemon. I have to close Pokemon.
This is fucking heart-stopping, you guys.
It's compelling. I know it's compelling. You know, we're going to have to do this later because I'm in the middle of like a cutscene and stuff, so...
Oh, shit.
We're just going to have to actually talk about it.
Okay. So you haven't played Pokemon since the 90s, apparently.
Yeah, this is the first Pokemon I played since the first Pokemon.
That's pretty intense. Is it living up to everything you thought it could be?
Everything and more. Because I was just like, okay, it's going to be Pokemon in 3D, and like that'll be it. But like there are so many new Pokemon that that are in the game. And there's so many new little things like rollerblades and like getting extra XP, and like I'm just having fun exploring, just like walking into houses and like getting free items from people and walking into the tall grasses and stuff. And it was really fun. I don't know. I like the first gym design was really cool. The bug gym where you have to like walk around the webs and stuff.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
I mean, they could have just put out another Pokemon game. They've been doing it for 15 years, right? You just get the 8 badges. It's the simple A to B kind of beginner's RPG, and they could have done that again. They've been doing that two versions at a time since 1996. But yeah, it's not just that it's in 3D now. Like that's the big kind of selling point on the surface, is that instead of using sprites, it's all 3D models, and those do look good. Do you miss the sprites? I know a lot of people are butthurt about the sprites being gone.
No way. Are you kidding me? This game looks amazing. Forget the sprites. It would be hard for me to go back because all I know is like the basic, like it can't get any worse than like old school Game Boy. And now it's just like I don't know if I could play black and white.
I liked the sprites, but I don't think 3D is necessarily always better. I think like Fire Emblem, when it went from sprites to 3D models, I actually prefer the sprites as much as I like Fire Emblem Awakening. I like the sprite design from like 7 and 8 more. Professor Layton used to be 2D art, and now it's 3D, and I prefer the old style. But with Pokemon, I think the 3D models are just so expressive and so sharp that I don't think I could go back either. They just look too good. It looked great. Like screenshots and YouTube videos don't do it justice.
Oh yeah, I was not prepared for how good this looked. It's like the shading and stuff too. Like when you do, like you're playing the game and that's one thing, but then when you actually go into the battles and they're like moving and and all that. Oh man, it looks so good. Like it was interesting because like when you start with the new ones, you're like, whatever, I don't know what Froakies supposed to look like, so that's a Froakie. But then you get like Pikachu and stuff. I'm like, wow, Pikachu looks really cool.
Yeah, they even used the voice clip from the anime for Pikachu. Like, it's not the old red blue cry he did. Now he just says Pika.
Pikachu?
Yeah, I noticed that. He's like the only one that actually makes like a sound of the character outside of just a like a little MIDI sound.
I think it'd be cool if in like Z version they do give everyone like their actual anime style voices. Like, I don't know. I would say that's more work than it's worth, but when I see the work they put into this game, it's like they burned everything to the ground and started over. Like, there's no reused assets. Like, everything from the user interface to the online to the basic progression, like HMs are not even a big deal anymore. It used to be you had to like have 3 people on your team so you could surf strength and cut around all over the place. And now it's like, if you want to, you can push some voltages around, but it really isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. I mean, it's like, oh, that's just sharpening it and polishing it even that much more. But I think it's an amazing game as it is. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm only 8 hours in, but it might overtake Fire Emblem as my favorite 3DS game. It's like hooked me that much.
It's close. I have to do some soul searching. I like them both a lot. I'm about to basically just go on a huge rant about how much I love Pokemon X and Y, but first I want to get some of my complaints out of the way, because there are a couple things. One is the music. I'm not super overwhelmed with. I think Black and White was like the best score they had since the original, and I feel like X and Y is kind of a step backwards. It's kind of just generic orchestral like remixes of the old music. Nothing really grabbed me so far. Mm-hmm. Does anything jumped out at you? It's a kind of a game that I don't really mind muting.
I'm almost backwards because, like I said, I don't have anything to compare it to. But I liked some of the songs on the routes. Like the one that I think one of the first routes, it just reminded me of Harvest Moon. Kind of, it was just kind of like upbeat and cheery and simple, and I like that. Like you said, the battle music is the same battle music, just kind of remixed. I mean, I'm just sitting here outside of that one Route 1 or Route 2 or whatever song. I can't really think of anything like that jumps out. It's fine. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not super. It's not bad, but it's just not grabbing me the way some of the old ones did. Also, the 3D effects, like for a lot of the game, there just is no 3D. Like you turn the slider up, there just isn't any, and that's fine. I don't really like 3D, but when there is 3D, like in the battles, it's not good, and it kills the frame rate.
You know, I noticed people were saying that. I thought my 3D was broken at first. I'm like, why isn't it working?
That's a good sign.
I literally had to like put another game in to see if it was broken. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just the game is not using the 3D for whatever reason. I imagine because it's so big, like if it's killing it in the battles, I'm sure the frame rate like on the overworld would just be unplayable or something.
Yeah, I'd imagine that too. It's just not worth it.
You know, it's funny that you say the frame rate was bad during battles. Like, I turned it on, and I didn't notice it, but there are times in battles, even when the 3D's not on, when there's like the screen of your Pokemon and the one you're fighting, and it like has a little flash down the middle, so you're seeing both of them at the same time. You know that view I'm talking about?
Yeah, the double close up.
Yeah, the frame rate is terrible on that, regardless of if you're in 3D or not. I'm like, why is it so bad if it's not in 3D?
I agree.
That's the only for me that's the only thing I notice, and I'm usually a frame rate whore, so
it's not like it doesn't ruin the game or anything, but it's noticeable, and you can tell that the 3DS is like pretty much to its limit with what they've done here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
It's impressive. There's a bunch of stuff that is more impressive to longtime players, like that. They're adding Fairy type to check Dragon, because Dragon was completely dominant in the meta game. Garchomp was just wrecking shit. So they had to put in a new type. It's been long overdue. They haven't done it since Gold and Silver. So that's great as far as I'm concerned. And then buffing Poison, giving Grass some new tools, like they aren't affected by Spore moves anymore, stuff like that you wouldn't notice if you were just picking it up kind of casually. Those are welcome. But most of the big features are kind of ones that Nintendo's either been quiet about or just kind of mentioned and not went into, like Pokemon Ami. Have you been playing with that?
Yeah, a little bit, where you kind of rub the Pokemon, they like you a little bit more.
Yeah, when they introduced it, Nintendo's like, oh, look, you can pet them now. And it's like, oh, that's cool. But it's like, it's not just that you can pet them. It's a pretty, I don't want to say complicated. There's a lot of stuff to it. Like, you can play bunch of these mini games. They're basically like little iPhone games. There's one where you like bounce yarn. And there's one that's like basically sliding puzzles, stuff like that. And you could sell those games by themselves for 99 cents on the App Store, and people will buy them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're like complete games, and doing well at those earns you food for the Pokemon. You feed it to them, it raises their affection for you, which has in-game benefits. Like, you get more experience. I think you land more critical hits, and it changes like the text in battle. Like, if a Pokemon doesn't like you, it's like the old you send them out, they fight. If they do, it'll say things like it's like when you throw out your Pokemon, it'll be like I believe in you, Pokemon name or whatever, and it'll be like Pokemon name is waiting for your commands or whatever. It's like it kind of trying to reflects that you are better friends. Like, the Pokemon will like look back at you, like look back at the screen while it's waiting for you to put in the move and stuff when you're friends. And like, if you sometimes when you get like a attack that should have fainted your Pokemon, they'll like hang on with 1 HP left, and it'll be like Pokemon it didn't want to disappoint you or something. Like, the text pops up and it makes you like feel really bad. It's like it loves you so much that it's gonna pull through and win for you.
So that doesn't dissipate. Like, you don't have to constantly be doing that. Like, once you do it a few times, like, it's always gonna have that level of affection, or will it go away if you don't take care of it or whatever?
I'm not sure if there's a deterioration of that. When I reached level 5 affection for one guy's, a message popped up and it says like, you and blank will be friends forever. So I think once you get it to 5, it locks. Okay. I don't know if you have it lower than that, if it'll go back down. I haven't been playing it enough to know that. But I think it's cool because they could have just put in a mode where you pet the Pokemon, and that would have been fine because they're adorable. And there's a lot of little touches in it that you wouldn't that they didn't have to put in. Like Snorlax takes up both screens on the DS if you put him in there. Like, most are just on the one screen. That's pretty funny. And it's like certain Pokemon like being pet in certain places. Like I know my Heracross, like, you can't touch his stomach. He like hates that. But like, you get his horn and he's all about that shit. And it's just funny because it's like they didn't have to go to all that trouble modeling 700 fucking Pokemon with personal preferences like that.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
How much work is that? It's ridiculous. And they have like facial expressions, and there's all these little cute things they do. Like, sometimes when you enter the mode, like, they'll be facing the wrong way and you have to like tap them on the back and they'll turn around and stuff. It's adorable. That's one thing. The other thing is super training. Have you been doing that?
The punching bag stuff.
Yeah, the punching bag stuff. A lot of people are confused about how that works, but it's just the effort value training from the old games, but now you can see the values. Since the very beginning, Pokemon stats have been affected by invisible factors called EV, right? Effort values. And there were ways to manipulate them and keep track of them, but it's really complicated and not worth the effort. Now you can just see there's a little meter on the bottom right of your screen, and you can specifically choose to up them with these little mini games. Once again, you can sell this little soccer mini game on the App Store as its own thing, but they put it in the game, and it does its job. It's fine. I like it. Sweet. I'm sure it's gonna be super helpful for competitive people who just want to min-max the stats as quickly as possible.
Yeah, totally. Gosh, yeah. And have you got a rideable Pokemon yet? I don't know what those do. Like, I've seen in the in videos you can like ride a Rhyhorn and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's actually the story of the game. Like, your mom in the game is a professional Rhyhorn racer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And like, you run into people who are like talking about it, like, oh, it's my favorite Rhyhorn racer, and it's like, since your guy is basically mute, he never gets to like milk that for like anything. But I thought it'd be funny. Yeah, there's a part where you have to ride a Rhyhorn, but I don't know. I haven't been able to ride any of my own Pokemon so far.
Okay.
I only have 2 badges. Like, I played a lot of this game, but I've been mostly just messing with all the extra features. I haven't been doing a lot of actual progress.
Yeah, me too. I'm always just like, oh, let me fully explore this area. Let me mess around with this new Pokemon I just caught. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I haven't really been rushing toward the end. I just want to take as much time as I can with it. The other thing that I have been finding is kind of fun is customizing your guy, because you can like give him different hats and different shirts and stuff. Have you been messing around with that at all?
I haven't personally. I know that's a thing that appeals to a lot of people. I know some people who play MMOs just for the character creation part, and there's like Animal Crossing was super popular, and you can make all your own clothes and stuff in that. That's definitely a big factor. I personally didn't mess around with it, but I totally understand that it is a big deal, and I can't believe it hasn't happened sooner.
I know, right? Well,
you'd think there would be a thing like that in place.
Now, in Black and White, were you able to at least choose between a girl and a boy, or is this the first time you even get to do that much?
Oh, no, you've been able to choose between a boy and a girl since, I want to say 3rd gen, and this is 6th, so it's been years.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm looking up Game Freak's pace at which they release Pokemon games, and it's almost every year. So do you think we're going to get, the next Pokemon, I don't know, Z, A, and Z or whatever next year, or do you think it's going to be another 2 years before we get another Pokemon?
Oh, I mean, I have to imagine Z version is coming for a couple of different reasons. I don't know if I want to get into them for people who don't want too much information, but there should be a Z version eventually. I would imagine a year and a half from now, and then probably 3 years, 4 years before we see an entirely new set of monsters in a new duology.
Interesting. 4 years. That would be pretty unprecedented for Pokemon. Usually they're at most every 2 years, it looks like.
Really? Let me check this. That doesn't sound right.
Okay, so we got Game Boy. It was Red and Blue came out in 96. Yellow was 98. Gold and Silver, 99. 2000 was Crystal. 2002 was Ruby Sapphire. 2004 was Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah, but the ones in between don't count. I'm talking about between Red and Blue and Gold and Silver. That's the real gap. Yellow in between doesn't really count because that's just an updated Red and Blue. And Crystal doesn't count. It's an updated Gold and Silver. You know what I'm saying?
So they're probably going to do an updated Black and White, maybe? I don't know.
No. The next ones to get remade are Ruby and Sapphire. Those are the ones that are getting remade next, definitely. And we'll get a Z version at some point. Okay. So that's the next couple of years of Pokemon. And then it'll be 4 or 5 years before we see a whole new set.
Got it.
And here's the thing. Some people are kind of upset there's only 69 new Pokemon, not counting Megas, because usually there's 100 to 120. I actually like this approach because Pokemon Black and White felt like the first time you ever played Pokemon. On the first playthrough, there's no old Pokemon. It's all new, so it's a really fresh experience. X and Y, from the first route, it's mixing in old favorites. It's the greatest hits of Pokemon. There's just every route is 30 new monsters. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I mean I think the very first route I ran into a Caterpie and a Pikachu and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I remember you guys. I mean, it almost feels like I'm playing the first one because it's here's the part where you wake the Snorlax up with the flute. I'm pretty sure that was in the first game too.
Yeah, no, I think it's a deliberate attempt to kind of capitalize and update on the original games. The Mewtwo has been revealed already. There's the Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y. Yeah, Snorlax, you get one of the Kanto starters. I think it's very deliberately trying to evoke some of that nostalgia, but in a way that is indicative of we're kind of entering a new era, the 3D era of RPG making from Game Freak. And I think it's good. I don't think we need 100, 120 new Pokemon every time. I think as long as you get a good solid crop of quality designs and just add that into the huge roster we already have and make it more about balancing the meta game and making the UI more intuitive and stuff like that.
Yeah, the one thing I would say that's been kind of annoying is that just from a UI exploring perspective, I feel like there should be a mini map for each town. There's a mini map for the overworld, but sometimes I'm in a town and I get kind of lost, or I don't know how big it is, or I don't know where I should be going. Granted, they're not that big, but it just would have been nice to be oh, okay, so I'm in the southeast part of town. To get to the next route, you go northwest or whatever. Because, like I said, it was just the overworld map, and I'm I don't really quite know if that's enough, or it just would have been a nice addition.
If maybe the towns were a little bit bigger, I'd want that. As it is, it feels kind of like a old SNES RPG, where it's kind of when you get to a new town, you just spend 10 minutes just kind of exploring every nook and cranny. That's kind of part of the fun, is just checking out the landscape. And then once you kind of got it, explored. I don't think it's a big deal after that. But I have a problem with over-reliance on mini-maps. Like, I spent half of Grand Theft Auto 5 just staring at the mini-map, driving to the next,
Oh, yeah.
area.
Totally.
And I feel like that kind of takes you out of the game. X and Y it's the most immersive the series has ever been, I feel, with the, the big expansive environments. Like, have you been to the Lumiose city? It's like basically Paris.
Yeah, half of it's blocked off, though, with a blackout. But
they don't want to give it to you all at once because it's fucking huge.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even go to like the inner circle or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was cool. There's, now that I think about it, I think you're right. Maybe it is better that there is no town map because it is kind of cool. I mean, that's the first thing I do is go in like literally every house, check every corner to see what's like the next thing I should be doing. Like, there's one part in one town where you like plant trees and stuff. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it and it's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, out of all the new features, one that I think above all that no one's talking about is the new online stuff. Do you know about Wonder Trade? I've been telling everybody about Wonder Trade.
So the game prompted me to try it, and I just wasn't sure how it worked because it was like, oh, you can trade and get a mysterious Pokemon. I'm like, well, am I going to trade a random one in return? Because I don't want to trade something that I want to keep. So I just didn't want to try it.
Yeah. Well, I was messing around with the online features because a lot of it's really cool. Like, this is the best it's ever been. You can battle people all over the world. You can trade with people all over the world, like at a touch of a button. It's super slick and it's great. But Wonder Trade is a new thing where you put up a random Pokemon and it just randomly swaps it with someone else in the world is doing the same thing. So you just grab a Rattata out of your box, throw it up, and, a Magikarp comes down. You never know what you're going to get. And I was trying it out for a little bit there, and then I started getting more adventurous, trying to put basically the best Pokemon that I could part with up because I felt, I don't want it to be just people trying to pawn off shit to try to get better stuff. You got to try to make it a good community.
Yeah.
And I got a level 30 Ditto from someone, I think, I want to say Hong Kong, because it was not the English alphabet in either the trainer's name or the Ditto's name. So I have this Ditto now, and I immediately used it to breed my starters, my Bulbasaur and my Fennekin. And I had a bunch of those. So I go on the global trading system.
Wait. Say that again. So you can breed Pokemon? I don't even know that much.
Yeah, breeding is from Gold and Silver. That's old as fuck.
Oh, see, like I said, I don't know anything. So what, you take two Pokemon together and then you make like a new one, or how does that work?
Yeah, you take them to the daycare center. If you leave two Pokemon that are compatible together, you need a male and a female that are from the same egg group, and you get a baby of the female Pokemon. So, the famous example is like Wailord and Skitty are in the same egg group, despite one being a small cat and one being a whale, because the egg groups are super arbitrary.
Okay.
But Ditto works with everyone. So that just bypassed the entire thing. So I made a bunch of Bulbasaurs and a bunch of Fennekins, went onto the GTS, which is a feature where you can go, it's basically like Craigslist for Pokemon.
Oh, wow.
So I just typed in Squirtle, and it just showed me a huge list of people who had Squirtles. And I just looked through them all, and under each Squirtle, it'll say, like, this person wants a Charmander, this person wants a Rattata, this person wants a Bulbasaur. So I just clicked the person who had a Squirtle and wanted a Bulbasaur, and then it traded them.
So that's how you got every starter.
So, yeah, and, half an hour after grabbing that Ditto off of Wonder Trade, I had every starter.
Oh, man, you got lucky then, huh?
I did get lucky. You can catch Ditto in Kalos, but it's not until, like, the third act of the game, because I checked the dex, and it's not in the central or coastal Pokedex, so it's only in, I guess, the mountain region or something, where I haven't been yet, is what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was a good find, but that's the fun of Pokemon, really, is the trading and collecting, and it's just the kind of the emergent situations,
Yeah, definitely.
The tense critical hit at the last moment, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been battling people, like, in my apartment complex, just jumping on the Wi-Fi, seeing who's on, fucking up their day. I had one person, they saw my team, and they just immediately quit.
I'm sure, you know what, speaking of your team, I need to go get that Torchic, because...
yeah.
I mean, Pansear's cool. I pretty much just had Pansear because I'm like, it's a monkey I've never seen before, and he's fire. He's cool.
There's already a fire set. There's already a fire set, the Chimchar Infernape series. Like, Pansear is fucking pointless.
Does he have an evolution?
Yeah, Simisear? Yeah, Simisear, I think it's called.
Uh-huh.
He's a bigger fire monkey. The point is he's terrible and don't use them.
I'll just use the Torchic then.
Yeah, you should. Do you know Blaziken is like uber tier on Smogon? Like, the fact that they gave everyone a free Torchic is pretty fucking detrimental to the single-player balance. First of all, there's no reason to start with Fennekin because you already get a free fire starter. But even if you get both, like, then you get to pick from Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charizard. Like, you can make out with 3 different typed starters in the first 2 cities.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's nuts. Like, it's unprecedented and it's overwhelming.
Why do you think they did that?
I think it's because there's 700 Pokemon to choose from, so it's not really about finding the best anymore. Now it's just finding from the list of great ones which ones you like the best. There's just so much. Like like I'm saying, I'm only 2 towns in, like 2 badges in, and I already have some Pokemon that were fucking pseudo legendary in other ones. I have Bagon. He evolves into Salamence, which is fucking, OU tier. Like, that's when that was introduced, like, it was pretty dominant, like, in the metagame, and now they just give it to you at the beginning. It's just there. Like, it's not even about, like, there being a couple really good Pokemon that everyone uses. It's like there's 50 of them. Just pick your 6 favorite and go to town. So I think it's a shift in focus, because they realize they have 700 monsters to choose from, and that's why I'm not super bothered about them only adding a couple.
Yeah, I mean, talking about picking your favorite, I was just playing with ones that looked cool because the game's pretty easy. Like, all my guys are just, I haven't come close to dying on any of the battles. So I'm just like, yeah, I'll play with Pancham. He's a panda. That's pretty cool. I'll karate chop some people.
Pokemon has never been difficult. There's been, like, parts that are a little bit more taxing, like Victory Road in a couple of the early games was a little hellish, but their introductory, like, starter RPGs. To me, it's always been the single player campaign is just to get things ready for messing up your friends. Just absolutely ruining their self-esteem. That's the great thing, though. It works as an introduction to JRPGs and as an esport. That's
true. See, I'm just enjoying the single player. I don't know if I'm ever going to battle people online. I mean, some people at work got it, and I'll probably play you once I get this whole stupid online thing figured out. But I mean, I always feel like there's going to be an imbalance because nobody's going to be at the same level, like I'm sure.
Oh, no, it auto does it.
Oh, okay.
Well, you don't have to. You can turn that off. But yeah, you go into the options and a battle. It's like one of the first things that pops up. It's like, do you want to set everyone to level 50? And it scales your stats. Yeah, no, they've dealt with that a while ago. It's super easy to make it fair and accessible, and that's awesome.
Well, there you go. They figured it all out.
It's great.
Yeah.
And we didn't even touch on Mega Evolution.
Oh,
Jesus.
Man. Well, I haven't even got there. I mean, right now in the game, they're just like, maybe we can learn more about this. Let's go to the fossil lab or whatever.
It's funny, though, because from the very beginning, the plot hook is always, take this Pokedex, explore the mysteries of Pokemon. And it's like, there aren't any mysteries. Like, everyone knows. Like, everyone knows everything there is to know about Pokemon. But this is the first time where it's like, what is Mega Evolution? It's like, I know, but the characters in the game don't. So let's see where this is going. I haven't gotten to the part where they figure it out yet. But I actually like it. I thought I wasn't going to like it. But the idea is growing on me, and I think it'll be really interesting to see. Because really, you only use one per battle. So it kind of just gives you, like, your one signature Pokemon, like, as if you were a gym leader, you know?
Yeah.
And then you still got to have a 5-team roster surrounding it. So I don't think it's going to severely unbalance anything. I think it's just a matter of making sure there are enough choices of Megas, because right now there's, like, 30. So I think if Z adds some, and maybe, the next gen adds some, it'll be fine.
No, let me ask you this. When you talk about Z, so when they add that third chapter to the 2, is it basically just going to be a reskinning of X and Y, or is it going to be like a whole new game with stuff, or how's that going to work?
Usually it's like the same basic structure, but like they'll change up, like, what the Team Rocket of the day is doing a little bit, and they'll change the legendaries, like, in Ruby and Sapphire. you had to stop Kyogre or Groudon in those games. But in Emerald, you had to stop Rayquaza. It's like the same structure, but they switched up the Mon that was involved. And they had like some balance tweaks and stuff. It's not super substantial, but usually I'm not bothered by it. Usually there's enough reason to pick it up. So I think Z will probably bring a couple of things to the table that'll make it worth picking up.
Got it.
You can be cynical about it. I know people who say Pokemon in general is a ripoff because there's two versions, you know?
Yeah, well, I never understood why you would buy two, because it's like you can't trade with yourself, so...
The idea is for your friends or siblings to get them so you can trade. Like, I don't know if you read that article that Robert wrote about the history of Pokemon, but from the very beginning, it was like, take Megami Tensei or take Dragon Quest V and take the focus off battling and onto trading. That was the idea, was to make it more of a community experience or whatever. And that really how it became successful was like word of mouth from people who just were just like, oh, I gotta get a Sandslash and it's not in my version. Do you have one? No, you should pick it up and you should fucking get some of that shit and you should trade it to me. It encourages you to get other people into it. It's a virus. It spreads through friendship circles.
Ooh. Yeah, the more I learn about the ins and outs of Pokemon, the more I'm like, man, I'm probably never going to stop playing this game.
It's a ridiculous value. I beat Black 2 in like 12 hours.
What? 12 hours?
The whole game. Like I'm a fucking Pokemon master, son.
Okay.
And I'm like 15 hours into X. And I have 2 badges. Like not only is that substantial, but it's awe-inspiring. Sometimes I just stop and just like look around and I'm like, fucking A, I can't believe they did this on the 3DS. Look at that, look at that field of flowers. Like that sounds so fucking lame, but it's like it's impressive. It looks good. It plays good. It's smart. There's a lot of smart things going on in it. So yeah, I think.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my only problems are the music and the frame rate. So.
Well, why do you think you blazed through Black and White and you're not this one?
Well, because I knew what I knew what the deal was. I mean, those games they were the same since Red and Blue. You get your starter, you go to the first time, you get a badge. Go to the second town, get a badge. Third, you just do it. It's not a thing. And it's like this game, I want to spend an hour petting my Pokemon and feeding them and playing the little yarn bounce game and maybe some soccer and. To go on the fucking GTS and see if anyone needs a Bulbasaur. I don't know. Just there's so many things to do. It's nuts. I gotta talk to everyone in town. Everyone has stuff to say and do, and it's like there's 1,000 shops in Paris. I can get a haircut and I can dress up and you can accessorize your Pokemon
But you can't put them in a Pokemon show. There's no show to put them in anymore.
I hated all those. I hated like the beauty contests and the movie studio in Black and White. Like none of that shit ever grabbed me. This is the first time where I felt like the side stuff has been useful and entertaining.
Yeah, I remember Dan was like, please don't add that stupid garbage. He hated it, so I think he'll be happy to know that it's not in it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like, it's not just that they added so much, it's like they cut a bunch of bullshit out. Like, Black and White made TMs reusable, and X and Y keeps that. It's like, that was just a fucking waste of time, having to buy TMs over and over again, or find someone who didn't use their Earthquake, so you could teach it to someone, Yeah. Just cut all that.
Well, yeah, that was surprising. I'm like, oh, okay, I have to really think, like, who do I want to teach cut to? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, like, everybody can use cut, okay, or I can use it multiple times. That was a foreign concept. It's definitely easier than ever. That's how I felt, because to me, Pokemon was, like, super hardcore. It's like, to level up your guy, you have to put the crappy guy out first and then swap him out immediately just so we can get a little bit of experience. But now it's like, everybody gets experience, everybody can use the TMs.
The experience share is actually back to the way it was in the first gen, where it gives everyone experience, but it's much better. And at first I was like, oh my god, this is going to completely ruin the entire game. All my people are going to be like level 1,000 by the first city, but it's not that detrimental to it, any more so than the game is already easy. But it just encourages you to not give up on low-level people. You just leave them in your party, do what you do, and they'll catch up. I mean, even catching Pokemon gives you experience now, so there's an incentive to just catch everything.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I have like 200 species or something already. I'm just murdering that Pokedex because there's no reason not to. It's the same as beating them up. So why not? Catch them all. Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, oh, man. So good. So good. 8 hours and I have one badge, and there's, 8 badges?
Yeah. It's the same thing like all weekend. Saturday, all I did was I went to my brother's apartment. Him and his roommate, we sat on the couch playing Pokemon and watching college football. And Sunday, all we did sit on the couch, play Pokemon, watch NFL. Just like all day. And none of us have more than 2 badges. They're exactly the same boat, where they're just super training, Pokemon and me, going shopping for hats. Like, just, it's ridiculous.
Oh, man. So is there anything we want to touch on that we have not touched on before we drag Johnny back in?
I wonder what he's doing right now. He probably just muted and he's reading a book.
I'm still here. I'm like,
wow.
I was listening to you guys. I was actually going through my Steam inventory because there's a couple of things that I should probably sell on the marketplace here, and
You're gonna sell some Steam cards.
Yep, selling some Steam cards.
That's speaking of Steam cards. I don't want to forget. I actually have a bunch of Steam cards that I just didn't know that you could sell them, and I made like $2 over the weekend. I'm like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, you can do it. I've got all these. I have tons of things that I've gotten from pre-ordering on Team Fortress 2. And I don't play Team Fortress 2 because, I mean, I had my fill of Team Fortress when it was a free mod for, like, Quake and Quake 2 and shit like that. You know, so I was like, yeah, whatever. And, yeah, it's like I have earned enough money to, like, buy games selling Team Fortress 2 crap.
That's crazy. Like, I don't get why people are buying the cards. It's like they're fake cards that don't do anything. It's just for collecting purposes, I guess.
They level you up. Yeah, you do get leveled in Steam, which like allows you to do things to your Steam profile. It gives you like emoticons, some other things as well. But yeah, like
care less.
Well, basically, when you get a whole set of trading cards for one game, you can create a badge.
Ooh.
And then having that badge gives you experience, and as you get more experience, you level your Steam profile up, and so on and so forth and whatnot. So
I'll just sell the cards for the money. I don't care about having a fake level in a system that does nothing.
Well, you know, people do. It's
incentive to play the games more, if nothing else, right? Get achievements and
I guess, you know.
That's crazy to me.
Johnny, if you were listening, was there anything that grabbed your attention? Did you have, as a non-fan, non-player, was there anything you wanted clarification or explanation of?
No, I mean it's all pretty it's all pretty self-explanatory for the most part. I mean, as you say, Pokemon is pretty much like baby's first RPG. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's not like there's a whole lot of terminology in there that you're like, what's a blank? You know, you say Bulbasaur, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I know it's a monster or it's a Pokemon. I don't know which one, but, you know.
Yeah.
You know, trainers, badges, gyms, and things like that. They're all pretty common terms. I did not know that they had a Pokemon movie studio in black and white. That sounds ridiculous.
It was terrible.
So, it's, it pretty much, it explains itself.
I have a question, Austin.
Okay.
So Game Freak makes the games, but then they keep saying the Pokemon Company. Are they just referring to themselves, or is there literally another company called the Pokemon Company?
Nope. There are 3 companies that own Pokemon as a thing. It's split, I believe, 1/3 to each. Game Freak, who develops it, the Pokemon Company, which is a separate entity that does like everything else, like all the merchandising, I guess, like the anime and everything. Like they are in charge of it as a brand. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, because it is a machine.
Oh
like
yeah, totally.
The Pokemon, like Disney, and then Nintendo,
sure.
Obviously. But I mean, if you read like Robert's history of the Pokemon series, like Nintendo didn't really have any interest in Pokemon at first. They thought it was going to be outdated when it came out. They didn't think it was going to catch on. Like, there's a whole complicated kind of political thing that was going on behind the scenes. So it's interesting that it turned out the way it did. But yeah, Game Freak is a studio. They develop the games, but they also make other things. I don't know if you ever heard of Harmonite.
I do. Yeah, I remember that little rhythm game for the 3DS. That was cool.
Yeah, actually, the town I just got to, if you go in the Pokemon Center and talk to one of the people that's standing there, they mention that they're playing it.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, I'm playing this rhythm game where you run around hitting people or whatever. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was clearly talking about Harmonite, and I thought that was funny.
Well, they have the Wii U in your house when you start the game, right?
I saw someone who said like the most realistic thing about Pokemon XY is that only one person in the entire country owns a Wii U.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a series staple though. Like if you booted up the original, like they had an SNES in their house, and then like the next game they had an N64. So yeah, that's just a thing that's always happened. It's cool.
Yep.
Oh, I wanted to add a couple more things real quick before we move on. Couple other cool additions. If you put your cursor over TM, there's a list on the left side of the screen showing who can learn it. You used to have to boot it up and like go into your screen to look. That's cool. Also, on the stat pages, the stat for your nature is red for when it goes up and blue when it goes down. You used to have to like look that up on a fucking chart on like Bulbapedia. So that's super helpful. That's just there visually now. Horde battles. Have you gotten to any horde battles?
Yeah, one time I was in a cave, and I don't know what the name of the Pokemon was, but it was like some fluffy thing. I don't know.
Was it a Whismur?
Sure.
Like the little pink guy?
That sounds right. It was in the mountain area, right before you go to Annette Town or Arette Town or whatever.
Ambret.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think there were Whismur hordes in that cave.
Yeah, I fought 5 at once. I was like, geez, what the hell is this?
Yeah. That's a new feature, and I think it's a cool idea on paper. I don't think it really works for a couple of reasons. One is that it takes forever to sit there and wait for 5 people to execute their turns, and they're way underleveled. Like they're half the level of the other people in the same area, so they don't give any experience, and they're not really worth messing with. It's probably better to just run from those encounters.
Yeah, well, the way that certain moves were explained, I'm like, oh, I can just do an AoE move, but then like I did it and like it barely hit the other guys. I'm like, okay, that's not fun.
Yeah, most of the moves in Pokemon were designed for one-on-one battles, and so there are 2-on-2 strategies to employ because the double battles have been around for several generations. But the 1-on-5 is a half-baked idea as far as I'm concerned. Although I believe Horde encounters do have like exclusive monsters with like special abilities sometimes and stuff. So there are uses up for it, but I think they could retool that for future uses. I've always thought it'd be funny if you could do like 6-on-6 battles with trainers. Just let it all fucking hang out at once, just a fucking melee.
Oh man, that'd be crazy.
It would be nuts. But you need better AI to support it. Like the horde battles, it's like everyone use fucking Leer at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Defense can't go any lower. But yeah, the Pokemon move pool does not lend itself well to that kind of RPG combat where it's a couple guys versus way more guys, because you don't have like Thundaga to hit everyone with reliability. You're mostly going to be stuck with tackle and whatnot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, Sky battles, I've only done one of those, but they're just the same as regular battles, but only flying Pokemon are allowed to participate. So it's literally cosmetic. It doesn't take anything away, but it's not barely worth mentioning. So I guess I would add horde battles into my cons section if I was doing a review. I think Robert's reviewing it. I think he said he's going to give it an 8, but he's writing it up.
Okay. It's good. I'd probably give it a 9, but then again, I haven't finished it, nor tried any of the online features. And I have a skewed perspective, so...
Yeah. I'm not comfortable saying... I said earlier I'd probably give it a 9, but I want to see where the story goes, because, Pokemon has traditionally not been a story-heavy series.
No.
But, there's a whole cast of, secondary characters now.
That's true, yeah.
They've given you, 2 rivals before, but really it wasn't a super big deal. But it's one of your friends wants to, his goal in life is to complete the Pokedex. Another person wants to become the best trainer. Another person wants to start a Pokemon dance team. It's I have a feeling it's not going to go anywhere. But if they actually made a legitimately good story with interesting characters, that would be the difference. Pokemon could finally reach that 10 out of 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
If they made something like that.
So, what happens when you actually collect every Pokemon? Is there a special thing that happens, or is that just oh yeah, you did it, good job?
I haven't done it since maybe Ruby Sapphire. I haven't collected them all in a while, but to my recollection, usually it just gives you like a little like certificate in the game. It's not
worth
anything.
it. And just for your own like edification, it would have been cool to like, to me, like what I loved about like old school RPGs was like, oh, when you finish the game, you were rewarded with this like awesome ending cinematic. It would have been kind of cool if like you collected them all and they had this like awesome like hand-drawn animated cutscenes like, oh, congratulations, you collected all of them, and like the Pokemon are dancing around you or something. I don't know. That would have been kind of neat.
I would agree, except at this point it's pretty much impossible to collect them all because like some of them are like event only or like only in Japan or whatever, you know? Because the problem, especially with the last couple generations, is there's like 30 legendaries every time, and I thought it was getting ridiculous. Like there was no value in legendaries. X and Y only adds 3, I think. So that's another part where I think X and Y is getting back to the roots. It's getting back to the red-blue kind of like Mewtwo is a super serious deal now instead of just being one of 1,000 legendaries.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is the super ball that like you catch the Pokemon no matter what? What was the name of that ball?
Master Ball.
Is there only one Master Ball in the game?
That's the tradition. I assume there's only one in this game, but who knows? I haven't gotten it yet.
I see. So what are you planning on using it on?
It depends if who's the level. I usually use it on the level 70 encounter. So if that's Mewtwo, I'll use it on Mewtwo. If it's the Z legendary, I'll use it on him. I've seen it. Have you seen it?
I guess I've literally not looked at any of the media. I'm just like, oh, Pokemon, I'm gonna buy that. That's cool.
Okay.
So I don't know anything.
Yeah. X version gets an X legendary. Y version gets a Y legendary. They're on the boxes, and then there's Z, who I believe is in both.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the 70 encounter or if it's Mewtwo, but that's why I think he's going to be on the box of the Z version they eventually release. But those are the only new legendaries, unless you count the Mega Evos of Mewtwo. There's other ones, but they're returners from old series. So I like what they're doing.
Interesting. So traditionally level 70 is like the hardest to catch.
Yeah, like Mewtwo in the first one, and like Lugia and Ho-Oh or whatever. There's one that was like 40 and one was like 70.
I'm sorry, did you say Ho-Ho?
Ho-Oh.
Ho-Oh?
H-O-H-O.
So Ho-Ho.
Wait, what did I... Okay.
You said H-O-H-O.
No, O-H. I fucked it up then.
Never mind then. My interest dwindles again.
Did you think it was like a giant Santa Pokemon?
No. I was hoping it was a giant, like, hostess cupcake.
Snowballmon.
Hey, they've done worse. What is that, Garbodor?
That's a conversation everyone always wants to have. Like, what's the dumbest Pokemon? Oh man, did you see the ice cream Pokemon? Did you see the garbage bag Pokemon? That's my fucking fraternity voice. But though I wrote an article, this is like the first article I ever wrote for Blistered Thumbs, was the worst Pokemon were in the first gen. Mr. Mime, Jinx, Execute, Muck, like all of the worst designs are in the first generation. So if anybody wants to have like nostalgia goggles on, fucking knock yourself out. But don't talk shit about Garbodor like you know what's going on.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm just saying that was the first one that came to mind. There's a guy that's literally just a floating sword.
Honedge? Honedge is fucking boss. He's in my team. He evolves into 2 swords, and I named him Yosuke because he's two swords.
Nice.
I don't know if you saw on my Twitter, all of my people are named after Persona characters, and all of them are like super appropriate for what monster they are.
Oh, nice. I was so uncreative. I didn't name any of my Pokemon.
I usually don't, but I named all my Disgaea characters after Fire Emblem characters, so I've been in a certain mindset to do that recently, so that's what's happening.
Nice.
Oh, geez. That was a lot of Pokemon talk. Was there anything else I wanted to say? I can't think of anything. You should play it. It's really good, everyone.
Yeah, if you don't have it, like, what are you doing with your life? Maybe playing Grand Theft Auto?
I'm playing other games.
That's not a good use of your time, Johnny.
It really isn't.
All right, I'll take that to account when we talk about what I played this week. But, Austin, have you been playing anything else other than Pokemon?
Yeah, I put like 10 hours into Final Fantasy 13 too.
Why? Why would you do that?
I gotta get through it so I can speak with authority when I talk about how bad it is.
13.2 or 13.3?
I'm finishing 13.2 so I can talk about how bad it and 13.3 are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just say it and assume I'm right. I want to know I'm right. Here's the thing. The story and characters continue to be insipid and grating and shrill. The music and art design are still like wildly dissonant. But the gameplay is getting better. I actually kind of like the gameplay. It takes the best elements from 13 and adds Pokemon into it. I don't know if you know about this, but you can capture and enslave enemy monsters onto your team in a matter not unlike Pokemon. And that's, I don't know if you know this, Johnny.
I didn't.
I'm gonna blow your mind. I like Pokemon.
You know what, Austin? That changes everything.
So you could see how this would appeal to me. But yeah, 13.2, like the 3D modeling's great. Like just looking at the monsters and stuff, like that's if you're gonna dump $10 jillion into that fucking Crystal Tools engine, they got some use out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like that. I like taking flawn for my own violent purposes.
So even if you don't, you feel that it like, do you feel that it's cogent, that it runs parallel with the, dramatic, gritty world they're trying to create here?
Oh no, it's as I said, the whole thing is so wildly tonally dissonant from everything else. It's like everyone's dressed like they're at an anime convention. They're talking real serious about the nature of fate and time and destiny, and at the same time,
and then it's like collect pets.
Yeah, and there's all these there's cute comic relief characters floating around, and yeah, it doesn't have any kind of unique and unified vision, but it's not as difficult to slog through as 13 was, because I actually kind of enjoy the combat.
Yeah.
Although now playing 13.2, I kind of appreciate 13's story more, because as railroaded as it was, at least it was telling a story.
Yeah.
It was like they're after us. We have to get out of here. And it's like, okay, I can get on board with that. And 13.2, it's like, if we change the future, we change the past. And I'm like, no, it's not how that. That's not a joke or an exaggeration, by the way. That's like the tagline of the game.
That's pretty ridiculous.
I'm sure they're going to try to bullshit their way out of it, but if you have to have like a 20-minute monologue to explain the fucking point of your game, it's a pretty basic failure.
Yeah.
And the fucking villain is like the most cynical attempt to like jam Sephiroth into a purple wig.
Let's
and
see,
he has,
what was the last one that we had that did really, really well? Really, really, really well. Well, there was that one guy.
And he has fucking...
Slap a wig on him. It'll be fine.
He has Nightmare's sword from Soul Calibur. It looks identical. I'm surprised Namco didn't sue them. It's like a giant like black sword with an eye in the middle.
Really?
Yeah, like it seems on shaky legal ground that he can carry that around.
Well, speaking of ripping off Final Fantasy or just shamelessly plugging it, it's like the pre-order is a Cloud costume for 13.3. I'm like, really? You're really like gonna go down to,
Yeah, I've said this before. I think Square Enix is primarily run by people who grew up with their games and don't really understand what the appeal of them are, or they think they do. And if they just dress the new characters up like the old ones, that'll make us love them or something by association. This doesn't work like that.
No,
like,
I don't think so.
We didn't like Yuna or Cloud because they were dressed like that. It was because they spoke to angsty teenagehood and whatever the fuck Final Fantasy X was about. Giant space whales? It's been a while.
Something like that, yeah.
I think there was, like, volleyball in it or something like that.
Underwater hand soccer.
The soccer minigame in Pokemon X and Y is twice as good as Blitzball.
Yep,
No,
yep.
6 times as good as
I might be kidding, Johnny, or whoever wants to listen, Austin. I literally never scored a goal in Blitzball. I tried so many times. I read wiki guides, and I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. I don't understand what Blitzball is.
It was a failure from conception to execution, every possible way. I know some people were like, "Oh, I did it fine." It's like, that's good for you that you suffered through it. Don't drag us down to your level.
No, people are like, yeah, top 10 best video game mini games. They're always like, yeah, Blitzball. I'm like, no, you have no idea. You're wearing
Yeah, you've got to be fucking
goggles.
kidding.
Yeah, there's a difference between enjoying something and making excuses for it.
Yeah.
Like Tetramaster, like that was a legitimately like pretty cool mini game, but like Blitzball, no, that's just no.
Tetramaster was the card game in 8, wasn't it?
Correct, and 9. I believe it might have been called something different in 9, but it was the same basic concept.
Wasn't it Triple Triad?
Yeah, you're right. There you go. This is why we have Austin around, because he remembers things like that.
Yeah, because Lord knows I wouldn't want to dedicate any of my brain power to remembering the card game from Final Fantasy VIII.
I think that was my favorite part of 8 was the card game. That
doesn't mean it bears remembering, Austin.
I know, but that and the summon animations were fucking cool at the time. But
and the concert, I loved just like saving right before the concert and just mixing and matching and see what kind of dumb songs I could come up with.
Now you got me thinking about the concert from Persona 4 Golden. I had a huge argument with Sean. I think it's the dumbest thing ever, and I think it was so dumb. What is it with? It's a cultural thing, I guess. Like, pop music is not cool.
To you.
It's not, though. Like, it's not cool. It's cool to, like...
But your friend's a pop star. It makes so much sense.
We've been over this. I think I think that is a contrivance that hurts Persona 4 in totality, but we'll leave that conversation for another day, perhaps.
Yeah.
I named my Snorlax Teddy, and then I put his fat ass in the box.
By the way, we have not talked since that announced thing. Do we want to go down that road about what potentially the thing is that Alice is going to announce in November?
Oh, that teaser site that went up?
Yeah. That's
owned by Atlas and probably going to be about Persona 5?
Yeah, well, there's 3 things, and they have those the little cities. So people are speculating that those are the cities where they're going to have, like, release events or, like, oh, you can come here and, like, try it or something. Like, I don't know why they have all those Japanese cities. Or maybe that's where the game's going to take place. I don't know.
Who knows? When it comes out, it comes out. Like, I worry that if I start getting hyped, and then what is it, like November 10th or whatever?
Yeah. So
whenever it rolls around, and they're just like, guess what? We're gonna have a fucking cosplay contest or something. I'm just gonna fucking shoot myself in the face like fucking Persona 3.
Oh God. Yeah.
Fox News will love that. The gamer commits suicide because they saw it in a video game. He thought he could summon a monster and shot himself in the head. Has nothing to do with his crushing existential disappointment.
Hey, yeah. Too. Well, people are also speculating that it's three games. It'll be the Super Suplex Ultimate Slam, and then Persona 5, and then Catherine 2 maybe, or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would assume that Catherine 2 is in some stage of development, and they've already confirmed the new Persona Arena update. So if that is the announcement, I'm fucking bored. Yeah.
Dude, seriously, that Persona game title is the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
You know that it'll just be brought over as like Persona Arena 2.
Oh, I'm sure. No. Can I get, like, you go to GameStop, hey, do you have a copy of Persona 4 Arena, the Ultimax Suplex Throw, or whatever the fuck it's called?
And they'll just be like, get the fuck out. You think I'm stupid? Do you think I come in here and make up fake games to troll me?
Oh, God. Ultimate Suplex. Oh, God. I have to look up the name because it's so stupid.
That's some Arc System Works bullshit. I'm sure they had to have fucking suggested that.
Okay, here we go. The Persona 4, the Ultimate Ultra Suplex Hold is the full name. And the cover is just like, I guess, German suplexing you, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen that. They still haven't confirmed Koromaru for it, so I'm not sure how excited I am for it.
Oh, man, Koromaru, that would have been amazing.
It would be. Don't even say it wouldn't work, because Amy is playable in Marvel 3, so...
Oh, yeah, no. I was just going to say, I'm like, Amaterasu in Marvel's Capcom. So,
Yeah.
I'm also curious who that red-haired guy is because he's not in any of the games. I'm wondering if it's just like Labris, just like a dude to be in the game, or if it's like somebody from Persona 5 or...
Exactly. I bet it's Nyarlathotep in disguise. Boom, calling it.
Oh,
if it turns out, come back and listen to this episode, everyone. And I was right.
Well, so there's a shopkeeper in Persona 4 that has a very similar scar on his face. So people are speculating like, oh, it's a younger version of him or his son or something. Or it's just a total coincidence.
They only know how to design so many Japanese faces without dressing them up with scars.
Exactly.
But yeah, that name is total Arc System Works. Like, you know the shit they name their games, right?
Chrono Phantasma.
Yeah.
What are the other ones? I'm not familiar with Blaze Blue.
X2 hashtag reload and stuff like that.
What?
Core plus R, Overture, Third Sign, and shit like that.
Oh, man. That's pretty ridiculous.
That's just how they do business. I assume it makes more sense in Japanese because you can compact some of that stuff with kanji, you know?
Well, kanji's a character, so are you talking...
Well, I mean, you can represent more in less space.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I was being stupid.
Oh, okay. There was the guy who does translation for Axis, Ben Bateman. He was talking about on Twitter how about they'll give you something to localize and it'll be like 50 words in English, but it'll just be 2 characters in Japanese. And he's like, the language is totally unfair.
November 24th at I don't know military time. 10, 9, 8 p.m. on Sunday in Japan, so that's probably like late Saturday night for us. You know what we should do, Austin? We should do like a live stream thing and like embed it into Blistered Thumbs and be like, stay up with Blistered Thumbs and watch us look at the reveal thing for Atlas.
2 people show up and we just sit there and talk about Pokemon the whole time.
Hey, whatever, man. If people want to show up, they can show up. If not, we can just chill on Skype or whatever.
I'm just really worried about the crushing disappointment when it's not anything like that. Square has ruined me. I don't know if you remember the countdown for The World Ends With You?
Oh, yeah.
It's just an iOS port, and it's like, I can't go through that again.
Well, for what it's worth, they do have the Persona development team logo on the website, which people were speculating that it would have been like a concert tour, and those the cities were the cities they were going to do that for. But it's like they don't tease concert tours like that. They just announce it, and they don't ever have the Persona team logo. So,
well, yeah, this studio isn't going on tour.
Yeah, normally they just would have
the programmers are out there.
Yeah, normally they would have just had the Atlas logo and maybe Index or something, but for them to have the Persona team logo.
Index? Really? It's too soon, dude. Too soon. Sega, I think you meant to say.
Well, no, but I'm saying like in the past if there were concert
websites,
but yeah. Yeah, I'm like 80% confident it's going to be something with Persona, but like you said, I'm hesitant too. I'm totally with you. Square has ruined stuff like that. Like, oh, it'll be a browser game or it'll be something stupid.
Oh, no. Yeah, a trading card game.
Sonic and Persona, the ultimate racer spin dash.
It's one day it's going to happen.
Yeah, he'll be you or Teddy. No, it'll be Teddy. If they ever like include a Persona character in the Sonic racing, it'll be Teddy or Jack Frost.
I think they should get Arc System Works to do like a Super Smash Brothers of Sega characters, where you have like Sonic and the Yakuza and Persona and Catherine and.
I'd buy it.
I think it's cool. I think we've been talking all the fuck over Johnny. Do you want to talk about what you've been playing, dude?
I was going to wait until you were actually done playing what you were playing. Was there anything else you're done?
I played Final Fantasy until Pokemon came out, and it's been all Pokemon since then.
Well, as you so adroitly pointed out, I've obviously been wasting my time completely this week with other games that I've been playing, considering that I went ahead and finished The Last of Us.
Shit.
Just like an absolute utter waste of my time, as I'm sure you'll completely agree, because it's obviously not Pokemon, which means that I probably should just go and cry myself to sleep right now. But I finished playing that. I got through it. I finally finished it yesterday. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
Because I get the feeling that we should probably leave that until the very end.
Yep.
But I did get a chance to do a couple of other things as well. I finally finished Shadow Warrior, and I had fun with that. Good action title, like good solid like guts, gore, just fucking like everything that you want out of a game where the guy is named Lo Wang and you give him a sword, you know? Like it just loads of fun. Loads of fun. Looks great. Best dismemberment system I've seen. Blood and guts everywhere, which actually leads me to the third and final game that I managed to play this week. Or actually, no, sorry, not third and final, but definitely third, which was I got to play Viscera Cleanup Detail, Shadow Warrior. Now, for those of you not in the know, Viscera Cleanup Detail was a greenlit game for Steam that hasn't come out yet. We're probably going to see it later this year, where you basically play the janitor that comes in after all of the action that normally happens in a first-person shooter happens. And you have a mop, and you've got a little, like, garbage bin, and you clean up. So it becomes your duty to wipe all the guts off the wall, mop up the blood stains, pick up the body parts and put them away. And
yeah, I reference Viscera Cleanup Service in my Beyond review. That's the funniest concept to me.
Yeah, well, apparently the guys at Wild Hog Flying Studios thought it was pretty fucking funny as well, because they basically gave the guys making Viscera Cleanup Detail Shadow Warrior assets.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, hey, do you want to make a sort of a free DLC version of Viscera Cleanup Detail about Shadow Warrior? And they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And that came out this week, and it features like the entire first level, basically, of Shadow Warrior, where you show up this like old school Japanese temple with a mop and a bucket, and you have to wipe the floor down. And I feel kind of embarrassed to actually say that I sort of found this as amusing and fun as it was. Because it does not have a very long lifespan at all. You know, but it's like, if you mop up too much blood with your mop, it starts to get blood-soaked, and then you just start spreading blood around. So you've got to, like, go back to the mop and, like, dunk a bucket and dump your mop in the bucket and then go clean stuff up again. And it's like the whole time the character is just, like, muttering to himself. He's like, God damn it, people got no fucking respect for other people's working spaces. Just come in here and make a goddamn mess and everything. And just, like, and I'm sitting there thinking, I feel you, bud. I feel you. This is pretty rough, man, right here. But, it's funny. Like, I'm really surprised that they're making a game out of this. But I'm going to play it. And I'm probably going to gripe. I'm going to come home from work. And they're going to be like, God, finally I can relax and sit down and mop up somebody else's guts.
It seems like something that would be funny and fun for like 20 minutes. But the fact that it exists is awesome to me, because it's a great kind of we think about how many people you kill in video games, just hundreds and hundreds of people, and their organs are everywhere. It's like someone has to deal with that eventually.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like sooner or later the ownership of that building changes over, and the evil syndicate that you managed to take down they don't pay the rent anymore, and the landlord comes in, and it's just like, shit, I can't sell it like this. You! Who? So, I only played it for like 10 minutes or something like that, you know, but it has achievements as well. It's got 2 achievements associated with it. What are the achievements? They are complete cleaning the entire temple and punch out. And then there's punch out with all the cash in the trunk. So I'm thinking that there's a trunk full of cash up there somewhere that you can appropriate, we'll say. I also got to play a little bit of Surgeon Simulator 2013.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I
What was just the week of comedic gore?
almost. You know, I don't know. I was in a really weird mood this week. You know, like I talked to you guys about how my girlfriend's got this new job and things like that. So there's a lot of time that I have to myself now on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's just me. So I get a little loopy, I think. And I've nearly completed my first heart surgery in Surgeon Simulator. I can get the heart out. It's getting the other one in that I'm having trouble with. But it's pretty weird. It's pretty wacky.
Is it possible to actually do that? Like it was my understanding that it was just funny because it's goofy and then you kill the person. Like, can you actually successfully do the operation?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've never heard of anyone actually doing it correctly.
I was getting close. I was getting really, really close near the end there, actually. It was kind of getting to the point in time where I was prepping the other heart, like I was dropping the other heart in the chest so that I could just, like, quickly, like, throw the other one away, grab it, and then, like, you know, it's weird. The favorite part that I had was when I accidentally stuck myself with one of the needles, and it went all psychedelic. I was feeling around on the right-hand table when suddenly the screen stings and the guy goes, ow! And then like all the visuals start to go like 1960s psychedelic flick. And I'm like, don't worry, dude. I got this. But yeah, you can actually do it. And it's like once you complete it, because it was a Ludum Dare game, I believe. Like one of the 48-hour game jams or something like that. And it's like once you do it, there's a bunch of other operations you can do. There's a brain transplant. There's a double kidney transplant. There's a what is it? You can operate on the Heavy, the Team Fortress 2 Heavy, where you replace his heart with a nuclear bomb. What else? There's a bunch of other weird things that you can do as well. Like I know that there's like ambulance mode or something like that, where you can change like where you're performing the heart surgery or the other surgeries. There's like one you can perform it in space. There's like a what was it? But you can actually successfully do these things. They're not easy, but you can do them.
Also, there's no bacteria in space, so that would help with preventing infection.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a very sterile environment.
Very sterile environment, yeah. You can't even take a bad breath in space. You can't even take a breath in space. It's a lot of space. So yeah, those were really the other games that I played this week, but I did finish The Last of Us.
Ooh, do tell.
So are we gonna officially go to Spoilers Corner here, or because honestly, I don't feel like I need to talk about the plot in any great detail at all, to tell you the truth, because as I've said in the last podcast, that I feel that the great triumph of the game was its presentation more than anything else. But if you guys want to talk any particular, like one specific plot development or plot device or something like that, by all means.
I mean, Taylor and I already did a spoiler breakdown of it when it came out, but I guess let's just say spoilers now. Spoilers, because I want to ask you what you thought about the very end.
All right, okay.
What? It's the big controversy.
Well,
did Joel do the right thing?
See, that's a pretty rough question, because the right thing for who?
Exactly.
Because you can argue that killing a person is wrong, but then you can say, killing a person under self-defense is right. But then it's like, all right, but like, what if neither one of you has any stake in the conflict, and you're both being threatened under pain of death that you have to fight, or else you're gonna die?
There's clearly gray areas, but I'm saying, at least the way I saw it was that it was a selfish choice, but it was made understandable by the characterization, and you spent enough time with him that it didn't feel like out of place. Like it all made sense, and I felt like it was emotionally satisfying for him to basically be the bad guy at the end.
Yeah, I did not feel that it was the wrong choice necessarily, but that doesn't make it the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm talking about artistically, not morally. Like, we are not debating whether or not you should do this in the event of a mushroom apocalypse.
Artistically, it was absolutely the right thing to do. Artistically, it was well on track.
Do you know about the? Apparently, they focus tested it and people didn't like it, but they kept it anyway.
I heard a rumor that that the whole hospital scene was going to be cut from the game. That was actually going to be a cut scene or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard they went through a couple of revisions. Yeah, I believe the one I heard was it was going to be a cut scene at one point, and some people were kind of upset that you can't make any choices basically at the juncture where you get to the operating room.
Well,
you don't make choices in the rest of the game anyway, though, right?
It is.
Yeah, it would be inconsistent to suddenly turn it into Mass Effect at the end.
Yeah, whereas Mass Effect became ridiculously inconsistent at the end because it was like, oh, you get a choice, but it totally destroys all the other choices that you've made. I mean, it is a Naughty Dog game that we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, they're not in the business of role-playing.
Yeah, I'm not slagging on Naughty Dog or their development style or anything like that, but I'm just saying is that what you get from them is what you get from them. They're masters of their craft, but to expect, to expect choices on the par of, The Witcher 2 or something, that's not their jam.
It's the same conversation I had last week about Beyond Two Souls. I don't know if you saw the reviews there, but it got everything from the lowest to the highest. Like, Video Gamer gave it a 4.
Yep.
Destructoid gave it a 5. IGN gave it a 6. Polygon gave it an 8. GameSpot gave it a 9. Everyone had a different opinion, and it came down to what you kind of were expecting. Some people were like, it's just a movie. I hate it. And it's other people were like, oh, it's a great movie. I love it.
Yeah.
It's Naughty Dog's very similar. It's don't go in expecting to have any influence on the story. You're all along for the ride.
Yeah.
Shoot bad guys.
And I mean, that having been said, it's a superb ride. I mean, it's some of the best examples of storytelling that I've seen in gaming.
Yeah.
It's bar none.
Even if you don't like what it's trying to do, it's the best at what it's trying to do.
Yeah, I hands down, absolutely. And that having been said, the thing that I'm going to say next might actually anger some people. The thing is that I didn't think it was a particularly good game.
As far as being a stealth cover shooter?
As far as being a stealth cover shooter. And I mean, the reason why I say that is I got into a conversation after finishing it with the friend who lent it to me. And we were talking about how certain games distinguish themselves because the way in which the player interacts with the game is masterful. Whether that be, games for example, like Mass Effect, where, you're constantly interacting with the story and you're shaping and forming this saga in ways that not many other games have managed to even come close to. Other games interact with the player because it's all purely your reflexes and your input. They present you with a challenge of dexterity, and you can just go through it and play it, right? Good platformers and things like that become real challenges of using your brain and using your reflexes. And I kind of felt like if you took games and just cut the sections out of them where you are interacting with the game, where you're playing it, where you're taking cover and you're shooting, or you're moving and you're jumping and you're lifting things and moving them or whatever, and you put them kind of next to each other without any context, I don't think The Last of Us would really be that good. Purely mechanically, everything that it did serviceably in terms of gameplay, but that's it. It served as a vehicle for a storyline. That having been said, it was everything that it needed to tell that storyline was in place. Like it was almost like a minimalist game design in order to put the focus on where exactly they knew the strength of the whole product was. And even though I feel like it took away from it being a great quote-unquote game, I think it was necessary.
Let me ask you this, Johnny. Did you play it stealthily? Did you walk up into each counter and just start blowing fools away like it was Gears of War?
No, I did my best to, stay behind cover and whatnot. Last week I talked about actually having to, trying to play the game on normal and having trouble with certain sections. I had to actually tone it down to easy because when it would come to points in time where, my attempts at stealth would blow up in my face, I just was not dexterous enough with the thumbsticks in order to be able to cope with the consequences. But yeah, most of the game I played as stealth, essentially. But what I'm talking about is when the game gets to that point in time, when it pops off for whatever reason, because it forces you to, or, you muck something up and you just have to deal with the consequences. I think that minimalist approach actually worked best in its favor because it didn't mire the game up in trying to come up with new weapons or new moves or new techniques or something like that. You would pick up things that upgrade your shivs or your nail bombs or your med kits or something like that, and you got to upgrade your weapons along the way at the benches and things like that. But because they kept it so, again, to say minimalist is I don't like it.
I think they kept it grounded, kind of. There's not a lot of gaminess to it.
Yeah, that's there was a kind of precision to which they approached the trappings that you think you're gonna get when you go into a video game. That's these are the weapons that you're going to get to use. You start with a handgun, and then you move to a shotgun, and then you move to, even the flamethrower looked clunky and awkward,
As it probably should in the post-apocalyptic scenario.
Yeah, precisely, but and what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that the fact that they didn't make it gamey, and I feel like they didn't make it gamey so... my phraseology is all fucking off. The fact that they avoided gaminess so much might have actually been a little bit of a detriment to the actual gaminess of it, right? To the point where it goes into shoot, run, cover, punch, jump, vault, and whatnot. It might have been a bit clunkier than it could have been. But it was an artful clunkiness.
It worked for me. I'd be interested in hearing what Taylor has to say because I think Taylor likes it even more than I do.
No, well, that's what I'm suggesting. Is I'm not trying to slog on it as a product. What I'm saying is that I think that they made decisions that might have hobbled it as a third person stealth shooter. But that they did it for the greater magnificence of the game.
Yeah, you can't even jump in the game. There is no jump button. I remember when they first said that, I was like, really? You can't even jump in the game? That's weird. But like you said, it works to the game's benefit. Because what if you're like, oh, let me just jump off this building right now? That'd be weird. That's not the kind of game they want to... Not the story they want to tell, not the kind of game they want to create. I think they intentionally made it as uncharted as possible. If that makes any sense.
That's what I'm trying to get at here, is that I know that people might get immediately angry for me to say that I didn't think it was that great a game. But the thing is that I feel like the concessions and the choices that they made that removed it from being so much of a game as so many other games we play was for the best, for the whole experience. I still don't understand how you people manage to play games with your twin thumbsticks. Barbarians. Fucking barbarians, man.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't know how you do mouse and keyboard. There's too many buttons. But I guess when you play with something long enough, you just get used to it.
because there are so many buttons, it's like you have everything that you need right there at your fingertips. Every single one of them. Every function. No radial menus. You get to, like, dictate the speed and smoothness of the camera twists perfectly. Honest to God.
Yeah, I mean, it's got more precise aiming for sure, especially in a shooter. Like, if you're playing Battlefield and you're just a sniper and you want to line up your perfect shot, it's easier on a mouse, but I don't know. I'm just used to it.
Austin's probably playing Pokemon again.
Oh, I'm sure he's playing Pokemon. That's just...
So, yep.
Jesus Christ, man. You can't even give us attention.
I gotta catch them all.
It's got to be the very best, like there never was.
Oh, geez, Austin, considering that you're supposed to be a Pokemon master, I would have thought you'd be done it by now.
I had to keep doing this stupid shit with you guys. Alright, do you guys want to wrap it up?
I think that's probably as decent a place as any to quit it. So, gentlemen, for the final round, your word is blush wine.
Johnny?
Yep.
I'm gonna go play Pokemon. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Ditto.
You were like zero fun, you guys. Like, zero.
I'm sorry. This is the Pokemon week. I told you at the beginning that this was gonna be a hard one for you, Johnny, but you made it. Next week, regular games.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I'm gonna go watch my Evil Dead 2 25th anniversary Blu-ray that I just got. So, you guys have fun doing what you're doing.
We will.
Battling your Pokemon. You guys know that you're pissing off PETA right now, right?
PETA can eat a dick.
Yeah.
A Pikachu dick.
Oh God, a Pika dick.
Now I have a very disturbing image lingering in the front of my mind that I can't seem to get rid of. Taylor, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I believe we just found our title, too. Eat a Pika dick.
I don't know if I can use that on the... We'll see. We'll see.